Hello, League fans, and welcome to the 2017 North American Challenger Series. I am still Optimus Tom Sirifos, and joining me tonight for a special throwback Challenger cast, the man, the myth, the legend, most importantly, not Mark Zimmerman, David Freak Turley.
That is the best compliment I have ever gotten, being called not Mark Zimmerman. You are my new favorite person. Thank you so much.
Oh, I didn't even have to try that hard.
You didn't.
That's great.
Not all people compliment me.
Well, get used to it. I'll do that a lot on the show.
All right, great.
Just to make up for it. But before we get into tonight's discussion or compliments, let's take a look at how the teams have currently stacked up. E-United close out Week 2 still undefeated and hold sole position of first place after taking down Tempo Storm 2-1 in their series today, pushing them, Tempo Storm, down into second place. Gold Coin United is in third place, followed by Big Gods Jackals, who have an opportunity to tie them up here tonight. And rounding out the standings are CLG Academy and Delta Fox at the bottom of the table. So looking at these standings, E-United and Tempo Storm really stand out as clear frontrunners for a playoffs and finals appearance.
Yeah, exactly. And I got to say, there's been significant improvements on the E-United side. The fact that they've got GBM and Dandy here is kind of insane. Those players are super good at League of Legends. Unsurprisingly, when you replace Europeans with Koreans, the team gets better, so not a big shock there. Meanwhile, Tempo Storm, got to give shout-outs to them, Coach LS, the new roster additions as well, even though Freeze did play some of the games today. Also an improved team as well, so those two teams look like the ones that are going to be heading to the finals most likely, and honestly, some very good players there.
Yeah, Selfie specifically has really had a standout performance. He's been around both the EU and NA side of both the Challenger and the LCS kind of scene, but he's found himself at home here on Tempo Storm, really demolishing the first couple of weeks.
It is one of the interesting things about the NA Challenger Series. You've got a lot of almost ex-pros, people who didn't really make it back onto LCS teams get picked up here. You've got relegated players like Mad Life and people like formerly Phoenix and, now a Selfie, where it's like no one really wanted him maybe for an LCS level, but they're certainly very, very good at League of Legends. You give them another season with coaching, maybe they come back to that level or they qualify themselves.
Yeah, he's definitely gotten his fair share of Challenger teams into the LCS on both sides. So lastly, we do need to talk about Gold Coin United and Big Gods Jackals, who are currently rounding out our top 4 teams of the Challenger split.
Yeah, Gold Coin United was a promo tournament team last split. They have fallen a little bit down, mostly due to the fact that Tempo Storm have gotten better, but GCU got the win over 4th place Big Gods Jackals yesterday, so they are continuing to do well. Fly in the mid lane, he replaced Phoenix, and Phoenix was the major hard carry for GCU last split, but Fly seems to be very good, played for KT Rolster, played for Longzhu, now he's over here in the NA Challenger Series. It's a pretty big departure for being in the LCK to being in NACS, but looking of course very good here as you might expect, and the teams in the top 3 not too bad.
Yeah, and we heard for Santorin, Fly brings a different kind of style to the Gold Coin United lineup. Before, Phoenix was kind of the lane phase dominant hard carry, and here we see he's played Galio in the first game yesterday, and then completely swapped it up and played Orianna and hard carried that game 7-0 and 4. Stellar performance.
Yeah, absolutely, some great players.
Yeah, so that brings us, of course, at the end of the talk about the top 4 teams, we're going to be seeing one of them tonight. The highly anticipated matchup between the meme stream dream team Delta Fox taking on that potential top 4 team in Big Gods Jackals. And while Delta Fox are full of veteran LCS players with strong mechanical abilities, they're struggling to find wins against any of the organized challenger squads here in the split.
Yeah, and when that happens, you've got to wonder what's wrong with the coaching staff, right? When you've got challenger solo queue players who can win lane, who can get early game leads, whose job is it to make sure these players can convert back, right? They've got former LCS experience. These players used to play pro. Now, it was a while ago, but I feel like it's all Mark Zimmerman's fault for not teaching these guys proper macro, not giving them proper pick bans. And, there's a reason he's been kicked off the Challenger Series desk. He's here to help maybe coach the pick bans to get a little bit better, but we haven't seen anything good for them so far. So, Mark, it's all on you for this one. But honestly, no. I mean, the team came in and they didn't expect to get a lot of wins, right? It's kind of a publicity stunt of a team, and it's fun. It's cool to watch some of these people's favorite players play, and they're gonna do this. They're gonna do the best they can. They're certainly trying. But they're doing kind of fun things. Half of them are playing off role here at this point, and it is a fun team to watch. But the expectation is that they're the 6th place team and going to remain there.
See, this is why I compliment my co-casters so much, because everybody else won't do it for me.
Mark is deserving of flame.
That's true. I could definitely speak to that. But to the benefit tonight, they go up against one of the lower-ranked challenger teams in Big Gods Jackals, a team who seems to be sitting in the same kind of 4th place spot they were at the end of last split, despite having some roster changes of their own.
Yeah, and kind of credit to them to stay in a playoff run when you've got a lot of these teams getting stronger as well, with Tempo Storm grabbing their 2 new additions and whatnot. But you've got Chris still in the top lane here. He's actually full-time with the team now. He's no longer on loan from Team Dignitas, actually with the team full sail. And as we know from Chris, he pretty much always makes the promo tournament, so just fate is going to put him back there. I think almost for certain, honestly. He's been the shot caller for the team, so cool to see Chris continuing to compete and do pretty well and be a reasonably top-level player. Also, Sir T coming in to the roster. It's very interesting seeing Big Gods Jackals. They are a Brazilian organization. They've got their 2 Brazilian imports. Sir T, formerly of Pain Gaming, of course, Baiano down to the bot lane as well, the 2 Brazilian imports. And honestly, a player that I also want to give credit to, though, is Fabi in the bot lane. We saw him a little bit in the LCS. Liquid was mediocre to weak there, but has been a very good player for Challenger Series standards and continues to put up some pretty good numbers overall as a player.
It's going to be very impressive when you have the 2 kind of gatekeepers on the same team, one from the Challenger Series and one to get into Challenger in general. But today is another step for this team to climb up in the standings, and their support, Baiano, shared his Big God's toughest challenge thoughts.
Eu acho que o mais difícil para esse segundo split vai ser a gente conseguir adaptar tudo do time. Tem jogadores novos, a gente mudou o jungler, que é o que muda praticamente tudo no jogo. Então, para mim vai ser mais fácil, porque o Túlio também fala português, então a gente vai poder fazer o jogo rodar melhor. Mas para o time em si, eu acho que o principal problema vai ser isso, adaptar tudo junto, e mudar o jungler sempre é uma grande mudança para o time. Eu acho que esse vai ser o ponto mais difícil.
Yeah, and it is always harder, putting a new team together, changing players, coming in, a couple weeks before the season starts and putting in new rosters. But it is always scary when he's like, it's so nice that our jungler always speaks Portuguese, so now our rotations are better. It's like, wow, so you've now got 2 and 3 as far as language concerns are going, right? You're not doing calls in English on an NA team. You're calling to your jungler in Portuguese half the time. And he's talking back to you, and okay, jungle support synergy is useful, right? And I assume these players know each other very well back in their time in Brazil, respectively, but it is always a scare when you've got a mixed language team, and that's always going to bring out difficulties, compatible with the fact that you are putting in new players, at the very start of the split. But hey, they've remained a playoff team so far. I think they are still likely to win this match.
That's very true. So with that in mind, let's meet the teams. Starting on the blue side for today, it's going to be Delta Fox. These are some faces you guys might remember. In the top lane, it's Dyrus. In the jungle, it's Skara this time around. Mid lane of Voyboy. Bot lane, I'm a Cutie Pie. And his support, Shifter.
And meanwhile, on the red side for game 1, it is Big Gods Jackals with Chris up in the top lane, Sir T in the jungle, Peek and Wolf in the mid, Fabi in the bot lane alongside Baiano, his support.
And as you mentioned, as we're hopping into game 1 over here, it's going to be a very interesting kind of pick and ban phase to see.
Yeah.
A lot of comfort picks coming out from the side of Delta Fox, whereas Big Gods Jackals may be playing something a little bit more standard.
Likely to be more standard on the Big Gods Jackal side for sure. I did run into Mark yesterday when we were planning out the match. Well, I know. Well, yeah. Anyway, I was thinking of ways to take that, and I decided to leave it there. I asked him, can you please have your team ban out Mark Z in the pick ban phase? A little bit of collusion. I'm sorry about that. The competitive integrity may be damaged, but I think he declined to do that. I asked him as a favor. He didn't. So unfortunately, with the Galio ban means there's no chance of that.
No, unfortunately, Galio does not start with M.
No. Or backwards. I mean, depending if you're on the red team, you have to ban backwards because of the way it plays out. So either way, not going to work out for this one. Though the Zach ban on the red side means they've got a chance.
There's still hope that Big Gods Jackals can ban out Mark Z for you. I don't know if you talked to them or not, but as we mentioned, pick ban phase is going to be a little bit different for this team. Delta Fox has definitely been more about the comfort picks. We've seen things like the Kassadin being taken high priority, which is still something we've seen kind of in the LCS, but then we saw the Yasuo coming out from Voyboy. We've seen Dyrus.
And it wasn't too bad, actually.
Oh,
like, the Voyboy Yasuo was actually pretty good, and yeah. And look, to be honest, I like they're bringing out things that they know. I always respect comfort picks. I always respect bringing in style choices for yourself. Again, this team is likely to go 0-20 in games or whatever at the end of the split is all said and done. But as long as you can look cool doing it, which playing Yasuo, shout out to the new skin, can help you do, I'm okay with that personally. So excited to see what they are bringing out. And again, the first 20 minutes tend to be pretty close for Delta Fox, and that to me is where a lot of the victories lie. Is can you look good? Can you stun your opponents, playing what you like to play? And if Mark can whip them into shape somewhere down the end of the split, then good for them.
Well, unfortunately, we won't be seeing the Yasuo this time around, as it is banned away, as is the Zac. But as you mentioned, very strong lane phase from Delta Fox, and a lot of the questions we usually pose to up-and-coming challenger teams are the same things that Delta Fox is going through now. Once you get out of that lane phase, once you take like the outer ring of towers, how do you break the inner ring? Where is your next maneuver on the map? And that's something that Big Gods Jackals may be questioning themselves now that they kind of have extra voices. Before they had Baiano as their shot caller, now they have Chris and Sir T, who are both very strong presences on the voice comms as well as game.
Sure, and that's fair. And honestly, anytime you're one of these teams like Big Gods Jackals, like, look, you are playing to make sure you keep it in playoff running. They did beat CLG Academy to be 4th instead of 5th right now. If they win this, they're at 2-2, which which puts them a solid match ahead of CLGA. And as long as they beat them second time, they're almost guaranteed top 4. And that's really the goal, I think, right now is shore up as much as you can, be in as good form as you can possibly be, make sure you make the top 4, and then hope you make that upset in the first round of the playoffs. You need to win one best of 5, and you're in that promo tournament. And that's the dream, right? That's the goal. So stay ahead, sharpen up as much as you can. We'll absolutely be looking at Big Gods Jackals to see how much they can improve and how good they can be by the end of the split.
Right, now they got a roster that they're sticking with for supposedly the entire split. We'll see if they change anything up, as they do still have some members on the bench. But the Gragas being first pick overall for DeltaFox, not surprising. Not only is it going to be a flex pick, potential top lane, but can wind up being something that, it's a legacy Skara pick.
Exactly. He's got his own video of him playing the champion. I mean, go back and watch I think it's the season 3 or 4 World Championship. There's like a hype trailer, and it's Skara running around in Gragas in a sweet anime style. Looking pretty sick for that one. Kennen top lane, incredibly strong. There's always a chance you flick it to the bot lane. I think it's probably better top side. And Lee Sin grabbed pretty early on for Surge just to counteract the Gragas. And as you mentioned, the Gragas can be a flex, and so grabbing a Lee Sin early on to make sure another high pretty jungler is off the table is useful.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that we've seen Skara play a lot of the utility-based junglers as well. He's played some games of Nunu. We've seen him on Ivern more recently as well. So it could wind up being a fact that they flex it into the top lane, but they're also going with another pick that could cement Gragas in the jungle, but could wind up going into the mid lane as well, as the Jace is picked up here, something we haven't seen a ton of recently.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And Jace, honestly, I think is another champion that has a video for Dyrus on it, actually. In the exact same video as Skara's Gragas is the anime of Dyrus's Jace. So awesome for that one. The Talia, by the way, I think is less likely to be a mid laner and more to be a support for Shifter. FYI, those who haven't watched DeltaFox games yet, Shifter played it before. So I'm excited to see what support Talia can do, or be a flex pick to mid Void.
It's very surprising. You put a mid laner in a support role, and he gravitates towards mid lane mages.
Weird. He plays Zyra a bunch too. Who would have thought for that one? So I know, lots of shocks coming through. Thresh, honestly, I think is probably the best support in pro play right now. I think the champion is incredibly strong. He's one of the highest, if not the highest pick rate champion. I think next patch we go to 712, he gets even better with Zeke's Convergence being a stronger item. Redemption being a worse rush item, meaning that, like, not that you wanted to buy Redemption that much on Thresh anyway, but he gets to go buy tank items and buy other cool things, and like the Karma who's rushing Redemption is now a weaker champion, so in the future it gets even better for Thresh, I feel, and honestly, I think life is good for a Thresh player. Biona's going to feel pretty comfortable on this.
Yeah, close to, if not 100% pick ban rate in the EU LCS, definitely rose up in week number 2 of the NA LCS as well. We've seen a lot of priority on that. That and the fact that he's just a playmaking champion, so when you wind up having carry top laners or split push top laners like the Kennen that potentially go into the top lane, you throw out a Thresh hook, that's your engage, that's what you're missing from that tank top lane.
Yeah, absolutely the case here. And honestly, even with Kennen in general, you're kind of not looking for hard engage. Like, Thresh can bring it, of course, right? And if you get a pick, you get a pick. You're never going to say no to a free kill. One thing I do like about Thresh is that he is flexible. You can go for the hard engage, but because this Kennen's going to be splitting top lane, you're almost always playing defensively in the 4-man. Getting enough wards that you're safe to do all this kind of stuff, and Lee Sin's good at that. But you're winning through the Kennen. You're actually going to be winning through Chris, and it's going to be a lot on Chris to create the major advantages. And again, if I'm saying, let's see Big God Jackals play a good game of League of Legends, I want to see Chris get the advantages. I want him to do well in his lane against Dyrus. It's a closer matchup, but it's one he can win. And the team give him the wards that he can split push to victory.
You got the quintessential carry top laner and challenger in Chris. You might as well play through that advantage. But in the second pick phase here, we have seen a couple of the 80 carries banned away from I'm a Cutie Pie, whereas the mid lane pool was pinched on the side for DeltaFox. They're trying to cut down on what Pick and Wolf has played a little bit of. He used to be very, very popular with those poke-based champions. Last split, we saw him pick up the Orianna and the LeBlanc specifically in that split push kind of style. This time around, he's going with something a little similar. He's got the Ahri on his side.
And I do like Ahri here. I think Ahri works well in a 4-on-4, right? She can be dynamic and she can join the Kennen pretty easily. If you need the 1-3-1, she's okay in that. It's not like full casted in her phase where it's like the primary role, but can pinch in if you need it. But also the fact that you've got wave clear. And I want to see some wave clear out of the bot lane major role as well. Maybe a Caitlyn or a Lucian or something like this. Caitlyn's banned, so that's not going to happen. But that's the kind of champion you want to see because, again, you should be able to win through Chris, and the other 4-man group needs to be able to keep enough map pressure and need to not be dove as well. And Lee Sin can control that, Ahri can control that. The Lucian actually grabbed up here, which is, partially takeaway, partially is a good champion for Cutie Pie. And yeah, the entire roster is locked in, and we see that Talia is definitely going to come down to the bot lane. That's going to be a Cassiopeia mid. And I think these are some good lanes. DeltaFox can win these lanes. They can get early leads, but I think needs to be step 1 of the plan if you're going to win a game.
Right, and then you wind up having that Jace flexed over to the top lane too, and the kind of split push Jace top lane style was one of the things that we saw very, very prevalent in Worlds last year. That was a very highly prioritized pickup, but it is going to wind up being the Kennen flex into the carry position, and it's going to be Shen in the top lane to split up against the
well, I got bamboozled. That's all my fault. I was so sure Kennen was going to be top lane for Chris. He swapped off the style, and Shen Supposed to be a pretty good matchup into Jace. We're still on 7.11, so Doran's shield is OP. You get 2 potions with it. He's not going to get pushed in early on at all, and it's very easy to buy a lot of armor on this Shen and be durable a lot. Now, there's still 2 mages in the enemy roster. He can die in team fights, but it's going to be all about, can now Dyrus be the one with the split push lead? And I actually wonder how much Delta Fox was planning around this Kennen split push and the 1-4 that they're going to go for, and then are now a little bit blindsided by it.
Yeah, it's definitely a different style as to what we've seen from Chris specifically. He was the one playing the Jace. He was the one playing the carry top laners like Rumble last time we saw him around on Big God's Jackals. This time he's going to be playing a tank and playing a little bit more of a support kind of role, whereas Delta Fox, I mean, they got Voiboy on a later game scaling carry in the Cassiopeia. They have an early game aggressive bottom lane with the Talia being a mage in the bot lane to pack a huge punch with Lucian. We'll see how it happens as game number 1 unfolds.
It is kind of funny. There's an anti-synergy with the recent patch changes to Spell Thief's Edge with Talia, because there's a 1-second lockout between triggering your tribute stacks a second time. So you put down Threaded Volley and it shoots all 5 shots out and you only get 1 stack out of it. It feels bad, man.
Unfortunate. It's direct or indirect nerfs to the support Talia.
Cassiopeia the same.
Yeah.
Zyra as well. The plants, you know, unless they're different plants, like a Q plant and an E plant, they count the same spell as well.
I did not know that, actually.
Yep. Yeah, Q plants, I tested it in practice the first day it came out. I was like, how does it work with Zyra? Because Zyra's like my most played support. The Q spell and a Q plant are individual, but if you like summon 2 plants with the Q, you only get 2 stacks. You need like a second kind of plant or a different spell to land to get your 3rd stack immediately.
Oh, that's a little unfortunate, although I guess that's kind of why the item was designed that way to begin with.
Yeah, it was a little strong, so it's a little bit balanced out now. You don't get instant stacks all the time. Either way, of course, we are into this one. I want to see what kind of lane assignments they go for and then what level 1 looks like. Lee Sin has a lot of available paths. You can solo any camp in the game. Raptors aren't the easiest, and Shen is not a great leash. Ahri can give a Q, but it's not the, you know, you don't really love starting Raptors in Lee Sin, but it looks like he is going to be top side, and we'll see what he goes for.
Could potentially path down towards the bottom side of the map then. The AD carry Kennen pick here for Fabi. I mean, we talked about when he was in NALCS, he was kind of that go-to utility AD carry player, played basically Ashe, Jhin, and if those were taken away from him, he kind of struggled a little bit to find a 3rd pick that he was really reliant on. The Varus kind of came up into popularity around the time he was phasing out of the LCS, but the Kennen pickup provides a lot of utility in that sense as well. You have a okay form of engage by one up popping your ultimate and getting the stun down, but more importantly, you have the CC that's provided for you.
And this honestly changes the texture of the team comp a whole lot. It's, you know, one of the nice things about the Ahri is that she fit into the old version where I was obsessed with Kennen being the top laner there, and I think she fits in this one as well, where you've got a ton of good engage tools. You mentioned it in Champ Select. Thresh, you get that hook, you can make big things happen, but Kennen's a good engage tool. You can deliver a Shen to the front line. The Lee Sin can, you know, ride into that party as well, and Ahri's very good at following up on the fight. So this is a very good, like, aggressive, power diving available team. I'm actually very excited to see how sort of fast and aggressive Big God's Jackals can play with this composition, because it's very dynamic, it's very aggressive. The wave clear is really bad. It is only Ahri. If you get behind, you can't defend turrets very well, and honestly, that can be a downside. And we'll see again if Delta Fox, their main way to win is win through lanes and then, you know, try to push the lead from there. There's not a lot of great defensive fallback options, and so this comes down a little bit to Sir T doing well on the early game jungle's Lee Sin to make sure that early game goes okay.
Well, that was the one big roster swap that Big God's Jackals made, with bringing Sir T into the jungle, and they wound up trading Wiggly away actually to Tempo Storm, who we have yet to see on the actual live broadcast, but are still alive and kicking in 2nd place in the Challenger split. But I'm interested to see how he slots in with Big God's Jackals playstyle and how Big God's Jackals playstyle has evolved, because as we mentioned just in the pregame segment, Chris used to be on those very heavy carry top laners. They used to play around Fabi on the bottom side when RF Legendary was their top laner, and he would come in with these Rumble teleports to really help get Fabi ahead. And now that he is kind of one of the forms of engage in this one, I want to see where Sir T passed early on, and if they try to gank heavily down on that bottom lane between the Talia and the Lucian, who want to get those early lane hits.
Nice little ward by Scarra. Of course, that means both junglers know where each other are, and Sir T not going to go for the Q follow. Either way, Scarra's going to be pretty safe. Very close on that one. Either way, yeah, vision gained, and looks like they got pretty much identical camps done on both sides. The advantage to Scar being that he, of course, took the Scuttle Crab down. Otherwise, it's, yeah, been pretty equal on both sides. So far, early farm lead is in the favor of Delta Fox. Most of that's going to be the fact that Shen is a champion. But also props to Voiboy, who is heavily outlaning Peek and Wolf right now in this Cassiopeia Ahri matchup. He's up almost double, so that's actually a pretty big deal. And that's with the fact that Peek and Wolf was actually getting the push lead. So significant farm lead to Voiboy. Big props to him, honestly, because back when he was in the LCS, it felt like he was one of the weaker mid laners, and coming in, I like just seeing the roster announcement, I felt like Voy might have been one of the weak links in the squad, but he's actually doing very well so far in this game.
Yeah, we saw him playing up and aggressive at level 1, not being afraid to spam away on the Twin Fangs to harass down on Pick and Wolf, and Peek and Move is actually a matchup that if you are Delta Fox, you may want to try to attack in this one. He was kind of a linchpin for Big God's Jackals last year. He wouldn't necessarily go crazy in every single game, but he was an extremely consistent Challenger Series mid laner. And if he had one even in lane, he provided his role extremely well, whether it was a split pushing threat, whether he was an assassin, or one of his favorites like the Corki or the Xerath, those poke-based heavy AP damage poke mages.
Sure, but his job this time around is going to be very bursty. He's going to be kind of assassin-y if they get the kind of fights they want. Nice juke by a shifter, gets away from the hook. And it's always just a little difficult, trying to play those things right. Because you've got to guess where the hook's going, and they've got to guess where you're going to juke, and Shifter, thankfully for him, is able to guess properly so far.
Yeah, that's just the very strong lane mechanics we were talking about before from this Delta Fox squadron. I mean, that's one of the things you kind of have to, it's a little bit of a, not necessarily an unknown factor, it's one of those things that you kind of can't count out, is the fact that at any point in time, one of these lanes could just completely snowball. And even though the solo queue kind of mentality, we've seen Challenger teams play that before, hasn't necessarily worked out, it could be also viewed as a certain advantage with any of these players and all of their previous LCS experience.
Yeah, sure. And Delta Fox, I want to keep seeing how their laning phase goes right now. No dives really available. You've got to get them really low before that's even a possibility. So it's going to be a holding pattern for a little while. Scar starting to get out farmed though, just coming into the mid lane to shove out for Void, but this is actually important. Void has run out of mana, so he has aggressed a fair bit, and he's gotten a farm lead, but now that he's he actually can't shove the wave anymore. Ooh, this is cute though, the knockup's gonna miss.
Yeah, they are gonna want to miss in the knockup, the flash storm from Bayano. Shifter's gonna flash after, and Cutie Pie dashes in as well. The ignite is down, but Fabi's able to get the stun up down on the Shifter, and first blood goes over to the Thresh from the ignite, and now Fabi chasing down on Cutie Pie. Just one more mark to stun him, but he will back away.
That was actually really big. The fact that the knockup missed from Shifter was a very huge deal, and the fact that Bayano did not have to flash away from it, was able to flash the piercing light instead, really, really massive. Well done by them to knock down that Talia so quickly, and suddenly the entire laning phase lead just completely disappeared. We can watch that replay again, and again, just the fact that he was able to juke just up to the side, flash the piercing light, and now too many cooldowns burn. There's just no way to get the kill anymore. That hook was massive as well, and I mean, just so fortunate. So many incredibly tight timings as well. The double set out of Kennen, obviously massive in its own right. And I mean, I can't even blame Delta Fox for going for the all-in, because you play that one 10 times, they probably get it 7 out of 10. And unfortunately, this was the outplay by Big God's Jackals. Props to them.
Yep, and holding on to the heal for the absolute last minute there from Fabi as well, just to keep Bayano alive long enough, knowing that he could survive by flashing away there. So early getting advantage on the bottom side here for Big God's Jackals, and like we said before, that's going through one of the lanes that they're extremely familiar with playing around, giving the first blood over to, technically it was Bayano, but getting the assist over to Fabi, wants him to go back, picks up his build order Cutlass extremely early on.
No surprise here to see the very, very standard opening builds, Blade of the Rune King and a Hurricane, all that fun stuff. Cutie Pie able to stay in lane long enough to get his own sort of equalizing items. He did have a farm lead, so the 200 gold assist doesn't, change that much as far as what they can both purchase, but it's going to be, looks like the standard Rune King into Clean Lucian build as well. And at a certain point, though, I feel like it's going to get very hard for the Lucian to get a lot done here. We're still in 7.11. The Kennen, obviously, very, very good laner at a certain point, and just providing so many stuns, it makes it very easy, right? If he gets into a fight and Chris ults in, Cutie Pie is almost always dead if his flash is down.
Interestingly enough, we've seen a lot of 80 carry Kennen. We saw Sneaky play it in the NALCS last week, but it's really kind of been one of the only champions that Reckless has played in the EULCS.
Yeah, he just keeps getting it, and people are happy to let him keep getting the champion. Yeah. We've got some shenanigans in the bot lane real quick. Looks like they're going to just back away and be safe. And this is good. This is a good shot calling though by Delta Fox to realize, guys, this is dangerous. You're going to get dove on by this RA. Get away from here. But look at the ward coverage by Big God's Jackals. They've got about 7 different wards in this bottom side of the map. 3 control wards in the jungle. They've got Scuttle Crab. They've got 4 basic wards and another control ward down in this bot river in this bot jungle. They are really playing on that side of the map, and that's really strong. It's an Infernal Drake. It's the best Drake you can get, really, as far as win-ins are concerned, and they want to keep pressuring in lane. They're already winning in 10 and 6. Shen 6, here they go.
Delta Fox, they may have stuck around a little bit too long here. The Slicing Maelstrom comes out, and they're able to lock down and kick around on the Shifter as he winds up falling down. Cutie Pie is able to actually answer a kill onto Fabi, so he will wind up going down. The Shen stand unit was used as well, but Delta Fox going to take top lane first tower.
And that is so incredibly smart by Delta Fox, and props to Mark Z for this one and the rest of the squad for realizing bot lane was going to get absolutely smashed with level 6 Kennen Shen. And I can't even blame Cutie Pie and Shifter for dying here. Okay, yeah, maybe they could have backed out, but like, okay, Lee Sin's on your side of the river, you're instantly dead. It's a hard pill to swallow. But the shot call to send 3 top lane, push that turret down, very smart by them. And first turret gold, okay, it's still less money than the double kill was worth. And again, yeah, at a certain point, QTPie and Shifter probably should have left and sussed out something, but it's a hard play to beat. And now look at that body slam flash, the knockback.
Yet.
Stun missed from Casio, though.
So the paralyzing gaze unfortunately misses, and Talia's not able to get the slowdown, so Peek and Move will survive. But I mean, you were able to trade a kill on the bottom side as well, so QTPie being able to pick up the kill on Fab, you definitely wind up making that play kind of worth it for Delta Fox all in all.
Yeah, it's a 450 gold swing to get a kill with an assist on top of it. We can watch this sort of bot lane play again. And yeah, they're going to do the best they can, just putting the damage onto the one. I kind of dislike that they didn't put Shen on the one who had actually taken aggro at the first place, with the Kennen taking damage the entire time. I realize you want to deliver the Shen in a melee range, and I get that. But if Fab is going to pull aggro first, he should have gotten the Shen ult. And if he's not getting the Shen ult, he shouldn't pull aggro first.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe just a little bit of tower aggro mismanagement from Big God's Jackals. The answer across the map from Delta Fox was the first tower, but we're tied at 1 tower apiece, and there's still about 1,000 gold lead on the side of Big Gods. So they still have some advantages for themselves. One death on Kennen's not going to set them all too far behind. Now the big question for us is, we saw Delta Fox try to transition back into mid lane, try to get a gank on Peek and Wolf. They weren't able to execute that one. Now the big kind of question mark is, what happens next? You said the Infernal Drake is still alive.
Right, and I think this still favors Big God's Jackals. Is part of the reason I think they're staying bot lane, because there's still 1.5 minutes on Chris's ultimate on the Shen, so you're not immediately re-diving the bot lane, but you do want to pressure bot lane so Sir T can do this, right? Viana walks over, they've already got wards, they can actually see Scar right now, they've already warded his drugs out, and so you make sure you grab this. You don't give away an Infernal Drake. I'd rather have an Infernal Drake than a general outer turret, so this is absolutely the right play by them, smart choice. Again, and they've reacted so quickly to having a winning bot lane. Right? They get the first blood, they've got lane pressure, immediate dive, immediate turret kill, immediate pressure for Drake. These are all very good choices out of Big God's Jackals, and they're getting farther and farther and farther ahead at a very quick pace, which is all very heartening. Yeah,
and it's very disheartening if you're a Delta Fox fan, because you mentioned before, the way that Delta Fox is going to wind up coming out ahead in this one was through trying to punish the lane phase. You saw Dyrus on the top side of the map has a steady CS advantage over Chris on his side, but Chris has been able to pick up a kill on the bottom side. He's picked up an assist to kind of negate that lead. Dyrus did invest in the Cole early on, so he has a decent advantage, but are you going to be able to play around utilizing this Jace being your strongest member on the map right now?
I like kind of all the choices that were made right here. So yeah, you're gonna win the matchup if you're Jace for Shen. Like that's why you pick Jace's early game leads, and unfortunately for Delta Fox, they haven't really found a lot of use out of that one. They did get the turret trade, and to be fair, that's actually pretty much props to them. And the Cole start as well to further capitalize on the free lane, as it were. I think that's actually really useful as well. But the fact that Chris managed to, with his first ulti, yes, you lost your turret. Again, that's probably going to happen no matter what. To get 2 kills, to get a turret out of it, like, it's just kind of positives on all sides, and I'm just sort of being cheery and friendly because I think the players are all making pretty good options so far.
Yeah, well, now we're going to see what happens with Delta Fox. This kind of the bottom lane phase is kind of ended now, so Big God's Jackals are rotating their duo lane up to the top side. Looks like that Delta Fox is going to be doing the exact same thing by responding by sending their bottom lane up to the top side. And while Delta Fox may struggle outside of lane phase, they are a-okay with being able to match teams. A lot of these games between Delta Fox also, they're not necessarily hard stomps where if they lose lane phase, they automatically lose the game. A lot of these are very, very close matches where it just comes to the objective call from the opposite team, although this time around, Delta Fox, they find a hole in the vision of Big Gods and collapse on the Sir T.
Yeah, and that's a big risk right there because they already cleared a ward on the river, so they knew that they were spotted. The two of them were spotted kind of by themselves. The rest of the teammates are laning, and it's a bunch of fog of war because their own wards had dropped off the map. It's just a little bit too risky to start checking into Gragas' jungle when everyone else is missing, so a bit of an overstep there. Sir T didn't have to go for something that aggressive, especially walking into the jungle to clear a control ward. Like that's butting up a bit more than you're supposed to be able to chew right there. So the gold back to equal here, and as you mentioned, it comes down to the objective calling into the mid-game situations, and we're in a close game here, and we can see who can make the better plays out of this.
Well, Big God Jackals, one thing they've had for solidly the first 10 minutes of this game is vision control. A lot of it was on the bottom side of the map when Fabi and Bayana were down there. We'll see if they were able to transition the same kind of vision advantages to the top side.
And I think it's unlikely, actually, at this point. And I want to point out 2 things. So the Delta Fox, the second one just timed out, but the ward in front of the red buff in the bottom of the map, as well as the one in Tribush, those are the ones that Dyrus really needs to make sure he's safe and not getting ganked by Elise Sin. If he has those, he's almost always safe to push in and continue to use this lane advantage. He's got his Ruin King done already. He's going to absolutely brutalize Chris in the matchup, who went for, I guess he needs to go Tiamat, right? Like, you have to get wave for at some point, but it doesn't mean he's at a power trough right now where he's going to continue to get bullied and continue to lose turret damage. And as long as Dyrus has wards, he's good to go. But the fact that the gold is kind of equaled out, it's just always going to be difficult for Big Gods to get really good wards, to get that second round of tower dives off on QTPie and Shifter. And you can see they get 1 ward, but back they go. No deep wards yet for them.
You see QTPie using the cone to kind of wave clear, but Fabi's going to come in, gets the slow from the build order, Cutlass slicing, Maelstrom locks up PewDiePie, but Shifter's there, Seismic Shove, not going to deliver Biano forward. And as you mentioned, Big God's Jackals struggling to try to get this tower dive off on the dual lane from Delta Fox.
I do want to see defensive control wards out of Delta Fox. Big Gods, to their credit, are pretty much consistently keeping 4 to 5 control wards up, and that is really big for them. This is good by Scar. Again, the bullied bot lane, they knew there was an attempt at the dive. The fact that Fabi ulted at all meant they were trying to dive this, which means the entire team is top lane. They can go for this play here.
Explosive casks and force Chris backwards, and he has to flash away from that Shock Blast Gate combination from Dyrus. Looks like they're going to continue chasing down, though. Cask is out. The follow is there. Blocks the damage.
Good job.
Yeah, Dyrus is able to pick up the kill. Voibo is rotating around just for the kill secure. This might be another tower being taken by Delta Fox, but Big God's Jackals immediately respond with the Rift Herald.
Yeah, definitely smart by all the teams to always have a counter action. Honestly, I'm heartened by what Delta Fox is doing. I still think that Big Gods, for the most part, are doing the best that they kind of can. There's a trail pickup. Chris probably should have backed up. I think, he just completely lost all of board coverage entirely, but, really good bullying by Dyrus, called the team over. And again, the fact that Fabi ulted at all means they know they were trying to go for a real tower dive, that the rest of the team was up there, and it was very easy for Delta Fox to say, Skara, this is safe, no one's on this side of the map, this is a free dive to go for, and it worked out nicely.
Well, meanwhile, PeeknWolf has kind of been a staunch sentinel in the mid lane, just whittling down that tower, and it looks like that between Big God's Jackals top and mid lane, they might wind up getting 2 for the response here. 3 members strong on the top side get that, and PeeknWolf is able to finally peck down that mid lane tower.
Yeah, well played by them, and they keep the Rift Herald buff as well. They actually managed to take the outers down without using it, so next time they get a power play in the next 3 minutes, they should take a tier 2 without much issue. And PeeknWolf, 30 CS up. Yeah, he lost out on the kill that Voiba got earlier on in the game, but up an Infernal Drake, up a turret. Rift Herald's going to probably be a second turret. Is all really good things for Big God's Jackals, and this should be a pretty solid game for them through the mid game unless Delta Fox can make a big play to kind of come back.
Yeah, the Rift Herald is definitely going to be kind of a make or break factor, I think, in this one. But Big God's Jackals having that advantage, they basically have, not a guarantee way, but a very solid way to break that inner ring of powers, which, as we saw before, they were struggling to dive through the first tier once. Right. Even more difficult to execute that game plan when you're that much closer to Delta Fox.
Yeah, expected value is like 80% of a turret at the stage of the game. If it was outers up, I think it's like 95% the turret goes down. This one is probably 4 to 5 times to get something out of it. And again, this team has the gold lead. They've been largely playing pretty smart around the map, so we'll see what they can actually do with this one. It is on the Lee Sin. I think it's interesting putting it on Lee Sin, by the way, because it means he has 1 less source of wards to ward hop with. He's got exactly 1 ward left. I've played with Lee Sins where like, oh crap, I meant to ward hop and I stunned myself by channeling. But this is nice by Delta Fox, just capitalizing and coming back down to this side. Now we know that Chris can TP in or ult in, Dive through the same. And we'll see if that play comes through. PeeknWolf gonna get body slam done.
Gets flash body slam. The Shen United, not even enough as PewDiePie picks up a quick kill for that, and a hole in the vision from Big God's Jackals finds Delta Fox setting up around the Infernal Drake.
Really nicely played by them. The setup was there. The flash follow, wow.
Getting aggressive on Chris, gonna take to the sky, just continue to pound away onto Shen, trying to make sure he doesn't have the global available and just fighting the global across the map, although Chris doesn't have either one of them available, so Dyrus going to keep on this one, whereas Delta Fox across the map has taken away the Infernal Drake. Dyrus, though, Shock Blast Gate combinations. Gate's not up yet. Shock Blast has to back away.
So he flashed for kind of nothing. I mean, I appreciate the thought. Dyrus finally gets to 1v1 his opponent. They don't get the, the party in from the other team at him. He didn't get camped so much this game, but that's still a bit aggressive for my taste. So I'm not sure I like the flash for nothing play out there from Dyrus, but still props to Delta Fox for getting the setup around that Drake. Really nicely done by them. Bursting through the Shen ulti, really obviously important as well. But, I mean, that's also kind of fault to Big God's Jackals for not refitting in time, using their gold lead and actually getting their own advantage out of this.
Yeah, they were the ones that took the 2 towers in response, but Delta Fox utilized the vision they had, protecting Dyrus from that play that they made on the bottom side of the map and transitioned it into an objective of their own. So it's actually very good things for Delta Fox here, is the fact that we said that a lot of their objective control was kind of incidental. They would maybe win a fight or be on the opposite side of the map from their opponents and get something because nobody was there. This time around, a very proactive play to set up the Dragon.
I really do like that, the fact that Delta Fox, I mean, I come in, really expecting like full solo queue, a lot of bad choices, and honestly, it's been pretty reasonable for a Challenger Series standard, so good job, Mark, whipping them up into shape. And Big God's Jackals, again, are supposed to be a 4th place team here against one that hasn't bought a win so far at all in this split, and this is maybe a closer game than they would like, but as you mentioned before, it's the mid to late game shot calling that really tends to separate these teams out, and we will see if in the 20-25 minute mark it starts getting better for them.
And it looks like the Rift Herald is going to be utilized by Surti on the bottom side of the map. Big God's Jackals have pushed out a decent amount of minions on this bottom side, so I'm going to take you up on that 80% that this tower goes down. We'll see if Delta Fox is able to respond. They only have 2 members down here, so it looks like, no, 4 now coming down. The tower, not that long for this world, though. Rift Herald about half HP. We'll easily take this one down, and Delta Fox got to be careful. They don't get caught by that thresh hook.
Smack, and there it goes. Nicely played by them. They, again, talking about just sort of generically good plays. One of the things I like about casting Challenger is if the team is paying attention, you have a lot of plays that are like, not insane, but just like always smart. It's like, hey, the entire team went bot lane to make sure they could use the Rift Herald really well. They got the entire team down to the side of the map. Like, it's just things that are always good. You get the fancier plays outside of the really top tier teams, but you can learn a lot about shot calling even watching a mid-tier Challenger Series team by saying, hey, this is a good play, this is a cross-map play, this is set up for Drake, this is ward control, and they have this, which is good.
And that's one of the things that we always see coming into Challenger Series. You have a team like Delta Fox, who has a lot of very talented individual players, who has a lot of skill and solo queue on their side. I mean, most of these guys are in Challenger, if not the top tiers of Challenger on the lines of like Shifter and Cutie-Pie. Sure, they've swapped roles.
Cutie-Pie's the best AD carry in North America. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, obviously
right?
the
number
best.
1 forever.
Ooh, Scar actually utilizing explosive cast to make sure he gets that
that
one.
play. The hook is going to keep on the satchel pan. Beautiful kickback as well.
Yeah, and Fabi popping the slicing Maelstrom just to make sure they get the stun down on the Scar. So he takes the red buff, but pays with his life, and they still donated over the Fabi.
Exactly where they wanted it after all. So Scar, unfortunately, didn't get enough teammates there to make that one safe. But
that's actually a good illustration, though, of this is what I'm going to do in solo queue. I'm going to invade, but now you have the better coordinated Challenger team who usually come out a little bit ahead of just raw skill as you transition into the Challenger Series. They say, hey, Gragas is taking this away. They collapse on him, and he pays for it.
And all credit to Bayano for playing that mechanically pretty much perfectly. The Flay either prevents Scar from autoing at all, or it pulls him right back off the satchel plant. There's really no way Scar survives without getting a better ultimate to knock them back a bit farther. And then the hook, like right afterwards, is pretty much still no chance Scar gets out. So kind of locked him into CC and guaranteed there was no escape.
Yeah, so Delta Fox now, they're down in towers. There's 4 on the side of Big God's Jackals. Rift Herald is no longer a thing on the map, and now we're cresting into that 20-minute mark. So this is the point in the game where Delta Fox historically has started to falter a little bit, and Big God's Jackals, when Chris first joined them in the last split, they still stalled out games until about the 35, 40-minute mark, but their later game shot calling definitely improved. Now they have Surti, competed at Worlds, took down CLG when he was on Pain Gaming.
Sure.
So he should know a thing or two about rotations and being able to close out a game in the later stages.
Yep, officially better than Afro at League of Legends. So
I don't know about that.
That's exactly how it works. You win one game, you're better than every player on that roster.
Ah, okay. Is that why the BRTT versus double lift argument was a thing?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, we see a blue buff invade coming out from Delta Fox. So they're going to be able to steal that one away. It looks like they might have given it over to Boy Boy. So that might be important here. Really good seismic shove coming out there from Shifter. But the charm and the CC chain landed on Scar. Boy Boy now has to try to flash away. He's got a fresh blue buff, but it might wind up being donated away. Shenstein United with Shen on the peak blue, taking a lot of damage in the front line. And I'm a Cutie Pie, maybe a little too far in there. Winds up getting blown up.
Wow, 2 for 0 off the blue buff invade. I was about to criticize Big God's Jackals for not actually having control of their jungle in time, but they certainly capitalized well. A lot of that predicated off of Skara just simply being too aggressive, and it means that Big Gods get wave control. They can start pressuring for more tier 2s, and if they put the next few minutes right, this game is almost going to be out of reach. They're actually going to try for a very... I don't know if they can actually take Baron with how low their health levels are, but they're going to try, certainly. I'm just going to hope that Surti can lifesteal a little bit off Scuttle and try for it now.
Yeah, well, nobody from Delta Fox seems to be the wiser. There's no vision control. Shifter is coming up on this one, but as you mentioned, low health bars. Chris already dropping extremely low. Shifter shows up. One threaded volley forces them the back away. It looks like a teleport being channeled by Dyrus as well. Is not going to wind up following through with that one. So Delta Fox, scary proposition from Big Gods, but they force him away.
And so this is the price you pay for taking a risk like that, Baron. If Delta Fox don't check at all, if they realize that you're, they just think you took a slow recall, then, hey, you get a Baron sneak, congratulations for you. But if this play backfires like it did, Darius gets the free turret, you're now slow on the play. Like, this could have been absolute map control for Big God's Jackals. They set up for a free Baron. They keep bot lane 2-2 alive because they actually recall the Shen in time, and that play could have looked a whole lot better. Now, fight in the mid lane.
Boy gonna get charmed up, gonna get kicked away. Once using the paralyzing gauge to try to keep himself alive, but Pekin Wolf dashing and flashing forward, drops extremely low, but able to pick up the kill on the Boy. Shifter flashes forward, Cutie Pie off the side. It's a 1-for-1.
1-for-1. Pretty big damage out of the mid lane right there. Interesting to watch for. At the end of the grand scheme of everything, it means almost nothing except for the fact that Delta Fox still are in control of somewhat mid and bot lane because of, again, the sort of flubbed Baron call right there. This is actually a snowball off of that even though the prior fight was won by Big God's Jackals, they didn't actually play for map control. They played for trying to cash it in on Baron. As a result, Delta Fox on the back swing still have lane control. They can still fight with Mountain Drake, and the question is now a smite fight between Scar and Surteam.
You gotta be careful though. Dyrus is kind of on the opposite side of this fight, and a good taunt forward there by Chris will land on the shifter. He drops extremely low. The support to Leah barely gets out alive, but now they turn focus on to Scar. Explosive cast gonna split up the fight a little bit. Dyrus on the backside trying to take down Bayano, who was knocked into him, but Scar on the front line has fallen down. Shifter with no HP in the middle of nowhere will wind up going down to another shuriken from Fabian. Big God's Jackals, they take the fight.
To be fair, he was cut off, so there's not that much you can complain about. And Dyrus, ooh, not long for the world. He's cut off, he's dead.
Not in range.
100% he's dead.
Yeah, Chris picks up the kill. Even taunts him for the kill.
Nice. Unlucky there for him. He finally gets revenge from the laning phase, and Chris, to his credit, losing lane matchup still down and far, but 2-1-5 is scoreline. He's done a very good job of getting into the fights and making sure they count. Mountain are going to go over to Big God's Jackals, and it looks like they just, Delta Fox were not able to rush that down in time. Even if they had control for a little bit of that, didn't mean enough. Well played to these guys on the red side.
Yeah, and as you can see as the replay unfolds here, Delta Fox split up a little bit. Dyrus is poking off on the side, but he goes to go wrap around, whereas the rest of Delta Fox run down, and the Big God just collapses on the opportunity.
All right, it's essentially a 4v3 right here, and even right now, Dyrus actually fighting the Mountain Drake because it's hitting him, and the explosive cask also is a really big miss. And just, it was a good taunt out of Chris. He got, I think, a 3 or 4 man hit off of the Titanic Hydra active, so he really chunked people out. And Chris then, you know, he put the flank in to make sure that the Talia couldn't go anywhere. He's on the backside of Tribrush. And yeah, I mean, Dyrus was like, he couldn't get anything done. It was pretty much a 4-man group from Big God's Jackals. Dyrus was not where he needed to be, wasn't able to help damage the front line or knock back into the engage tools. And he basically jumped into a 1v3 and did nothing with it.
And so Big God's Jackals able to kind of take control after they had that bit of a risky Baron call, lost some pressure on the map, lost the bottom lane tower because of it, but they've gotten themselves a dragon, then won themselves a fight. They solidified themselves about a 2,500 gold advantage now, so about 25 minutes into the game. And Delta Fox, they kind of had to reevaluate where they want to be on the map at this point in time because these kind of split up crazy fights, these going for objectives when the whole team may not be on the same page, it's the same kind of thing that we faulted them for so far in all their Challenger Series games.
Right, it's the kind of mistake that doesn't get punished in solo queue, where it's like, oh, if I'm 5 seconds late to Drake, we lose a team fight. Doesn't happen in solo queue, generally speaking, right? And again, I'm going to say this mistake is kind of on Dyrus, where he wasn't with the Mountain Drake when it needed to happen. Big God's Jackals did come down in time, did fight for the objective. They have put wards down properly. I mean, how many times in solo queue do you see green smite out of the junglers, right? You don't actually, you see the red and blue smites more often than not, generally speaking, right? And so the better ward control, well, of course, right? And hey, if you're running around playing solo queue, that's fine. But when you're playing, you know, a more competitive game where it is more about objective calls, right? The vision's certainly very important. And yeah, I mean, Dyrus, how many scrims have they really played together, right? And he was late to the play, and that's what it comes down to. These mistakes where it's a really small thing, but it does matter.
Well, as you see now that Dyrus level up on Chris, but Chris, now that he's gotten 2 kills, 1 death, and 5 assists, able to collapse and turn this fight around on Dyrus. Pekin will kind of join the fray here, and Dyrus going to get charmed up, going to get stunned up, going to get taken down.
Props to Pekin for showing up into that fight. The rest of the team actually still has lane pressure in mid, so it was completely free. You can see all 3 lanes are pushed toward Delta Fox. When that happens, you see what happens right there. Pekin Wolf is allowed to get out of the lane. No one can call for him. There's no wards left anymore. They've swept out everything, you know, across the map entirely, and it's very, very free that even though Dyrus has this level lead, has the Black Cleaver, has the Giant Slayer to help kill tanks even better. Like, he's itemizing as much as you possibly can to beat up a Shen, and he's got a level lead, and it doesn't matter because he survives long enough. The teammate roams down, and again, we're past 25 minutes, and the better choice is being made by the team with better teamwork.
Not only this, but now Dyrus is trying to 1v1 against Chris, who, like you said, losing lane matchup, wound up picking up kills on the bottom side early on with a level 6 Stand United kind of play, able to capitalize on the advantages his team was able to make. He's in the challenger scene now. This is Chris's domain. It is
Chris's domain. He's very at home right here. Now, Dyrus at home being 1v2 in his own lane, but, you know, goes to show it still keeps happening here. This 1-2 for him. Did have the early laning lead, which again, you expect for the matchup, but yeah, now the map's being played much better on this side. And well, it's the term we use sometimes in the LCS is how good is the speed run going to be, right? You expect Big God's Jackals to win this match. It's like, okay, how clean can you be at this point? Because at this point, I feel like they've got a real sort of visceral lead that they can hold on to and work the rest of the game with. They've got that turret lead, they've got the Drake lead, and so let's see what they can do with this.
Yeah, we're crossing the 28-minute mark right now. So, as you mentioned, turrets down in favor of Big God's Jackals, but only about 1. They've been able to take down that bottom lane outer tower, thanks due in part to the Rift Herald, but they still have those 2 outer towers they need to kind of crack. And while they will end up having a very tanky Shen to help them dive through those towers if they so need to, you still have to worry about the fact that Voyboy, we haven't talked a lot about him. We said that early on in the game, saying that might be one of the weaker links for the side of Delta Fox. Maybe not necessarily the strongest player on the roster. Picking up this Cassiopeia, he's still a ticking time bomb. He's got a stack Rod of Ages, he's got a Saris Embrace.
Yeah.
If he positions properly in these fights, Cassiopeia could run away with this late game.
Totally agree. And I think in a real, like, 5-on-5 straight-up Battle Lines team fight, I do like the Delta Fox competition. Here comes the fight in the mid lane.
Yeah, we might see one as Voyboy immediately being targeted down. Has about the Saris Embrace, but Fabi gets a great slicing Maelstrom on most of the team from Delta Fox. He goes unstoppable, and Dyrus teleports into the middle of the fray, but his team has already had to run away. Shifter's trying to help out as much as possible, but a double taunt from Chris. Fabi picks up another kill. Chris picks one up for himself, and Big God's Jackals are going to take a bite out of Delta Fox.
All right, QtiePie versus Fork. Take your bets, Twitch chat. Is QtiePie going to win this one? He's running for dear life. Here comes Sir T. He's been hit. Oh no, QtiePie lost.
Clearly he lagged right there.
Yeah. Unlucky.
That's going to be Big God's Jackals taking a 4-for-0, and now this Baron, a lot safer than the last one. Actually, they might be going for 5 here. Scar being zoned away by Big Bad Chris on this Shen, and Big God's Jackals going to capitalize off that fight, capitalize on this Baron, and take firm control of this game.
Absolute control. 4-for-0 team fight. There's the Baron recall, and that time it was a good Baron call. There's only one on the map. Yes, the jungler, but Chris made the right choice of chasing Skara off. That's very good. Solid practice play right there. Oftentimes, like, why would you chase kills? It's the jungler. You got to chase that one down. Smart by Chris. And as we watch the replay, I'm pretty sure it was fault to Scar who explosive cast in the front line. Just watch when Scar goes for the ulti here. It's a pretty good setup. Yeah, the hook misses. Okay. You know, they're not sure when they can go for this one yet or not. It's a really good chunk onto the Cassiopeia as well. But as it starts, there's the body slam. And then here comes the cast, and it knocks in the cannon. It knocks in all the frontliners. It actually helps Big God's Jackals do everything they want to do. Good cutting away. The Ahri stays alive the entire time, forcing the flash of Lucian. And at this point, there's just too much damage has been dealt. The Cassio's gone, and Voyboy is supposed to be a primary damage tool on this team, and he got picked up at the start, so there was no damage to be had.
Don't need a gap closer if the enemy Gragas is being a brother.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Brother Skara, for the help to Big God's Jackals.
So now Big God's Jackals, Baron buffed up, going to be taking another objective off the map just to make this one clean as a second Mountain Drake, and that's going to definitely help them with the Baron buff in tow. They've already pushed down that top lane tower off the back of picking up the kill on Skara as well. So these remaining towers and the base for Delta Fox are going to be under heavy pressure for the next 2 or so minutes. Now you kind of have to wonder, do they have enough wave clear to stave off these super minions?
The Delta Fox wave clear is not bad, to be honest, but Baron buff makes it so easy to keep the melees alive. I expect at least an inhibitor to die during the duration of this Baron buff, and that was actually before I realized that bot lane was already practically dead. So now I'm thinking it might be 2 inhibitors at this point. Again, the wave clear, it is hard to kill off the melee minions, and he can just ward hop away from this. So that ult meant nothing from Shifter. It's kind of a waste to cut off a Lee Sin. That was odd to me slightly here, but yeah, they still got a minute 45 to go on this one. Big God's Jackal can run it right back up the mid lane. You know, props to Dyrus doing the best he can to try to prevent some of this. He's still battling Chris. But Chris now has a level lead. He's got an item lead almost certainly at this point here, and it just no longer matters from Dyrus anymore. Mid lane should be an easy push as long as Chris keeps top under control.
So Delta Fox going to be hard-pressed in this one to try to defend. Super minions on the bottom side will be streaming in just a little bit. And as you mentioned, Big God's Jackals have to group it up in the mid lane, push it down on that side. They have a split push Shen, or essentially a split push Kennen, if they so choose to send Fabi up to the top side. They can just continuously push these waves out. They've had pretty decent minion management this entire game. A lot of these plays they made around objectives, or a lot of the movements they made on the map have been because they've had all those pushing lanes. But Delta Fox might be going for a little bit of a sneak.
Oh, the charm, though.
Oh, gonna land in the middle of the culling as well. I'm a QtiePie is going to get hit up. He's actually gonna bait in Sir T. Sir T has to kick away the Talia. Dyrus now gonna be the focus. Very low on mana. Has to try to run away, but the back lines comes Fabi. It's an assassin-based AD. Kennen coming in from the backside. He's gonna pick up 2 kills for himself. Another one went over to Sir T, and Big God's Jackals have scattered Delta Fox.
You gotta give Delta Fox credit for trying. They're losing this game by about 10,000 gold. They went for the Fnatic brush in front of the red buff, hoping that the team would rotate through that way. But the problem is no one's going to rotate through the front of the red buff when red's down, and so is Baron. Unfortunately, they kind of chose the wrong brush. Then they chased in Lucian first into the front line, and yeah, charms it up as much as you needed. So Big God's Jackal's going to look to close it down in a 33-minute game. Well played in the game one, 18-5, and kills beautiful stuff.
Big God's Jackals taking a game 1 victory over Delta Fox, and not very surprising, although for the majority of the game was a lot closer than we thought it was going to be. Delta Fox had some pretty good movements to kind of counteract the objectives. They had really good kind of trades in the objectives when they knew they were a bit of a step behind what Big God's Jackals was trying to do. But the vision control for Big God's Jackals was a little bit better, and they were able to just get to things first. As you mentioned, 5 seconds late from Delta Fox was already too late to make it happen.
Yeah, as you mentioned, kind of everything you mentioned in those last couple of sentences I agree with. There were several good choices made out of Delta Fox, better than I was expecting coming in as a team, where they realized bot lane's losing, let's go for the top lane play instead, let's go trade objectives back and forth and do smart things like that. So there definitely were some good moments out of Delta Fox, but clearly Big God Jackals, the stronger team overall, and especially once it got into the 23 and onward minute mark, where they were at objectives in time with their whole team. Again, you mentioned being 5 seconds late. Dyrus not being in that first Mountain Drake fight was huge, because that's what cracked open most of the gold lead, and it just went farther and farther and farther from there, where there's suddenly no longer anything to be had. Ward control dropped off. You were seeing Peek and Wolf be able to join that Dyrus-Chris matchup, where Dyrus is building a full squishy, right? It's Blade of the Ruin King, Black Cleaver, Lord Dominus Regards. It's items that help you kill Shen but not survive an Ahri. And as soon as they had all 3 lanes pushing, now Peek and Wolf can go to any side lane he wants to and start pushing people down and start getting assassinations, and it just kept happening left and right.
Yeah, well, Big Gods, they did have a decent gold lead for pretty much the entirety of the game, but we have a replay all set up of where things really started to go south for Delta Fox, which is around 24 minutes. That's an objective fight we mentioned. When Dyrus was there just a little bit too late, he was on the opposite side of the fight. He could not help his team out.
Unlucky for Scar, he tried to body slam to prevent the taunt, but the taunt still hit too, and it meant a ton of burst damage on a shifter. Explosive Cask also just really wasn't able to land on it much, unfortunately, and here's the Dyrus flank, right? He gets Thresh low, he gets a little bit of damage on a cannon, has a flash away from Lee Sin, he jumps into a straight 1v3, and I think if you were part of that fight from the back line, with the minor feeling that Scar did do, I think that fight looks a bit better, but this is what happens when you choose to limp into a fight you're already losing, right? It's shame on Dyrus for being late, and then shame on Dyrus for even joining the fight when they've already lost it as well. At a certain point, you let your teammates die. Regardless of whose mistake it was, you've got to kind of let that happen at some point. So, yeah, the miscommunication, the miscoordination was definitely there, and this is emblematic of the squad, is they don't scrim a lot together. They are not as sharp or polished as the other teams. Even if they can look close in the laning phase, you had the very, very tight fight 2-on-2 at like level 3 in the bot lane. Like, these are all things that, you know, it's close, right? These guys are, as an individual sort of general League of Legends player, they're about as good, right? These are strong players, but Solo queue is a different game from competitive, and Big God's Jackals in their element here.
Yeah, they were definitely in their element, although Big God's Jackals did not play without their own faults. They were not 100% perfect. There was a Baron call they made just after that, where they kind of went for that, and they ceded pressure on the bottom side when Dyrus was basically back up, so there were still a couple of those missteps, but by the time it wound up getting into the later game stages where the map movements were basically more important than the skirmishes, and setting up for objectives wasn't necessarily the gameplay, it was basically being the first to set those things up. Once again, the kind of strategy that Big God's Jackals had laid out wound up getting them the next big fight that they were able to transition into a Baron they were able to secure.
Right, yeah, our other replay is the Forfeiture that gives them the Baron at this point. And yeah, the team is playing very much better right here. Again, Brother Scar is kind of a point of this one, and the gold wasn't too far apart at this point. As far as items are concerned, this could have been doable, but I gotta shout out Peek and Wolf for the giant chunk he puts in the Cassiopeia, sets up the kill, which happens almost immediately as Fabi comes in, the taunt lands as well, and then Peek and Wolf is then able to duel I'm a Cutie Pie after the Sir T kick, so he actually essentially sets up the kill on the Cassiopeia and sets up I'm a Cutie Pie to have to force out the fight. I mean, there's a lot of individual plays that were better across the board. A bad explosive cast, a great charm. He missed the charm, but a great setup on the Cassio all the same. A great kickback to make Lucian have to isolate against an Ahri, which is not an easy match for Lucian. So sort of props down the line for the individual plays. This fight was winnable for the Delta Fox side, but it was played better by Big God's Jackals.
Well, it's one of the things we mentioned about specifically Peek and Woof and a lot of the Big God Jackals squad is the fact that they're not necessarily the most standout players in the Challenger Series or top tier in their role in solo queue or just basically mechanics. They're all role players, and when they work together in those situations, they wind up coming out ahead.
Sure, and there's the reason, of course, that they are still the 4th place team, because if you replace all those players with United on the Delta Fox side, they probably win that fight. Right. From the gold deficit. You give better mechanical players on the side, and this was a fight, again, won by mechanics, won by in-fight decision-making. You improve the players, suddenly you don't quite have those same tools right there. And that's, again, good for them. They outplay Delta Fox, but it is a weak team to outplay, and they look, about like a 4th place team.
All right, well, we are headed into a break, but when we come back, we're going to see if Big God's Jackals can close it out with a 2-0 sweep, or if Delta Fox is going to take us to game number 3. You're watching the North American Challenger Series. Yeah, they are going to wind up missing the knockup of the flash from Bayano. Shifter's going to flash after, and PewDiePie dashes in as well. The Ignite is down, but Fabi's able to get the stun up down on the Shifter. They may have stuck around a little bit too long here. The slicing Maelstrom comes out, and they're able to lock down and kick around on the Shifter as he winds up falling down. PewDiePie's able to actually answer a kill onto Fabi, so he will wind up going down. He's got a fresh blue buff, but it might wind up being donated away. Shenstein United with Shen on the peak, taking a lot of damage in the front line, and I'm a PewDiePie maybe a little too far in there. Barely gets out alive, but now they turn focus on the Scar. Explosive Cast gonna split up the fight a little bit. Dyrus on the backside trying to take down Bayano, who was knocked into him, but Scar on the front line has fallen down. Shifter with no HP in the middle of nowhere. Shifter's trying to help as much as possible, but a double taunt from Chris. Fabi picks up another kill. Chris picked one up for himself.
Eu acho que o último split que eu aprendi mais aqui é jogar mais em função do time. No Brasil, a gente tinha muita cabeça de bot lane, é meio separado do time e tal, então aqui tem uma cabeça muito mais... o time jogando como um todo, eu acho que isso foi o diferencial que eu aprendi mais aqui.
Well, welcome back, League fans. We hear there from Bayano as we're gearing up for Game 2 between Delta Fox and Big Gods Jackals. He kind of thinks that bot lane is a little bit separate from the rest of the team, but then he joined Big Gods Jackals, who play around bot lane and did it extremely well in that game as well.
Yeah, and I got to say, it was definitely a team effort right there. And the fact that Fabi was able to get into the fights, that Bayano was able to get in the fights, I mean, this was a team comp that really wanted to get in a scrappy 5-on-5s. They didn't want to stay in a split push situation. You've got very much a team fighting bot laner and Kennen. Thresh can certainly set up and peel back as well. And you want to get the Shen into the fight. Like, you want to get away from the Jace 1v1 because you will passively lose that matchup. And yeah, you've got to try to force team fights because it's a team that honestly a lot of the time doesn't want to let you force on them. And they did a good job of actually getting themselves into those battles. And then right when it came down to it, like, he's part of the squad that's warding to make sure that they can go for the side lane dives, that Peek and Wolf can go and help out the Shen Jace lane and whatnot. So yeah, solid team effort.
Yeah, very good team coordination from the side of Big God Jackals, but we'll see what they wind up doing or changing up here in game number 2 against Delta Fox. We are in Champion Select, so you get another chance to see if they ban away Mark Z or not. Well, Zaya does not spell Mark Z, however. So
yeah, well, I mean, think about it though.
I'm thinking
you spell Zaya with an X, but X, I don't see it, right? You should spell Zaya with a Z.
Maybe if they were on red side, I'd half believe you, but I'm kind of immune to all this right now. I've been up here for 1 game with you. It's been like 3 years since we cast
like
together.
the word xylophone, right? It's spelled wrong. English is incorrect. There's a Zach ban.
The Z.
All right.
That's kind of a mandatory ban, though.
That is a completely generic red side ban. But I'm going to hope the next ban out is Callista.
Nah.
What are you doing? That's a Galio. Now, to be fair, though.
Marg Z.
Marg Z. Depends on your accent, though. A G and a K can sound the same. Like, for example, in Korean, G and K are kind of the same sound. So I'm still going to hope that there's a possibility here.
All right, well, they banned an R champion. Maybe I buy into some of the stuff they're spitting out right now, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Rakan. It's not Rakan. Yasuo still banned away. Void not allowed to play that champion. No. One ban to come through for Big God's Jackals, actually the Jace, which is interesting. I did like how they played against it before. I thought Chris did a good job, but the fact that Delta Fox was still able to get first turret gold, was able to win the lane by so much, I still understand, like, hey, let's not give them that option again. I think that's reasonable.
If they don't want to give them something that could potentially just win lane, if they're going to be picking a tank in the top lane again, could potentially be the thought process behind that. And Dyrus, outside of that one kind of skirmish around the Dragon and maybe some of his positioning in team fights, was fairly solid throughout the entirety of the first 20 minutes on the Jace.
Yeah, he was generally pretty good. There's the Caitlyn ban away, so sorry, life is pain, and they didn't do what I wanted to do. It's okay, though. Jace ban also allows top Kennen to be a more viable pick. Right here, they're actually not going to go for it, though. Priority on the Elise jungle instead. Again, Lee Sin's still available, but if Scar's not a big Lee Sin player, then you just kind of grab the cream of the crop, and there's not that big of a trade.
Well, I mean, you said before that Scar, one of the big things he likes doing is putting down vision control and putting down more.
I mean,
he would make a great Lee Sin player.
Scar is synonymous with great ward placement. It is synonymous, which is like one of the primary skills of playing Lee Sin. So I feel like this is just a match made in heaven. It does give away the Kennen, though, which I'm a little bit surprised at. Again, I don't know Scar's jungle pool that well, so I don't know what's takeaway and what's actually, that important for him. But it does give away a highly prized champion in this Kennen, and as we saw, right, Dyrus was a pretty good split push top laner before they got first turret off of it, and so you ban a Jace, and he gets arguably the stronger split push top laner, unless we see Kennen flex, I guess possibility.
We could.
And yeah, Scar's back on his comfort, I guess, anyway.
Yeah, so he's not going to be picking up the Lee Sin. But the Kennen for Dyrus is something we've seen him play in the Challenger split already. It's something that he's been fairly familiar with just previously in his LCS career as well. I mean, he's played plenty of Kennen in that matchup. Though now it's a little bit of a different style of Kennen. It's not the kind of AP style, but we could potentially see that being flexed into the bottom side. Big God's Jackals played that kind of flex game themselves throughout the majority of the pick and ban phase. So we'll see if there's any sort of things going around, but looks like they're going to be comfortable picking up that Thresh once again for Bayano. You mentioned a very powerful support pickup.
It is, and Big Gods right now I feel like are just drafting according to the tier list. Aside from the fact that they did give away Kennen, which wouldn't speak to that so much, but they grabbed the highest priority jungle that's available, they grabbed the highest priority support in League of Legends, I would argue, unless you consider Zac to be that. And now actually, bit of a change up, I'm surprised here, but the Callista being grabbed is fun and exciting to me. It's a cool champion to see. Don't see her a ton, but I always love Callista Thresh as a combo. You can save each other back and forth. Toss the Thresh, gives you a lantern, out you go. It's kind of fun. And it means that you've got very good laning out of this Big God's Jackals bot lane. I think it's one of the better 2-on-2s in general. And yeah, playmaking to be hatched. Should be fun.
Yeah, that's not a champion we see all that frequently, so maybe not going down the exact tier list from Big God's Jackals.
Right. I mean, they had to blind pick something, right? And what's actually amazing is they preemptively counterpick Ashe. Callista's one of the best champions against Ashe because you say, hey, Thresh, face tank and arrow. I'll just trade ults with the other bot laner, no big deal. It is actually one of the best possible scenarios to be in. The actual scrapping of the laning phase is going to be a bit hard. Callista a bit short range. Thresh can be hard to get in the fights as well. Ashe can poke you, and we expect to see like a Zyra or a Talia or something magey out of Shifter. So more so than the last game, I really expect Delta Fox to have a strong 2-on-2 here. But as far as just on a more macro scale outside of laning phase, I really like what Kalista does against Ashe.
You know, so that's one of the things too, is when you force QTP onto something like the Ashe pickup, Delta Fox already kind of struggle in kind of the rotations around the map and their late game shot calling. Now you give him something whose primary job in the late game is vision control with a hawk shot and being able to make sure that you're in the right position at the right time and utilizing that Ashe arrow for engages or disengages, whichever situation you're in. Sure. Now you're kind of putting like the onus on them to be like, all right, you're split pushing with the Kennen, we're going to give you this Ashe away in this matchup, right. And you kind of have to make the moves happen, which is where Delta Fox has struggled so far.
And it almost doesn't fit the comp as well. When I talked about Kennen top a little while ago, it's like you need the 4-on-4 to like stay kind of safe. You want a wave clear like a Lucian or a Caitlyn. Again, Caitlyn, because it's being banned, it's not happening here. But that's usually what you kind of want, is a safe 4 to let your 1 do all the hard work. And that's what the Jace kind of wanted to do and was doing, right? Delta Fox got first turret off the Jace. They just needed to have wave clear anywhere else in the team, which they didn't really have that well. And, you know, this spells a bit of difficulty for me, but if they can get the Kennen to TP in, and they can get the flanks, I mean, we've seen some good Kennen ultis, right? We've seen some good Kennen flanks. It is possible to get good team fights out, and if Delta Fox say, you know what, we just want to win good 5-on-5s and give Darius a good landing phase, then it works on that line. I just don't think it's the best possible comp.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they want to pick in the second pick phase here. As Delta Fox have banned away some of the protection from the Kalista, the Shen and the Orianna taken away. So no Shen here for the side of Big Gods Jackals Chris. They ban away 2 of the mage supports, the Zyra and the Karma. Although this is a shifter special, he picks up the Taliyah for the second game.
Yep, still plays what he wants in that one. The Taliyah Ashe is, I think it's going to be a fairly strong bot lane right here. We'll see how well the Kalista can dodge away from the knockup. Certainly, just by the fact that Kalista exists, she dashes between auto attacks, which means that she'll trigger all the minefield damage from Taliyah. Like, there's a soft counter there. The Taliyah into Kalista counter pick, ladies and gentlemen. It is massive. It's crazy. I'm pretty sure that Kalista also can't clear the wall, even if she does have some dashes. I think it's too short of a dash to get over. So there are some subtle gains for the Taliyah here in this case. It can even still be flexed to mid for Void if they really, really want to do it. Honestly, just waiting to see what the rest of the comp is. It feels like they're going for some pretty heavy team fight focus. And I think they're going to be trying to bring the Kennen into the fold by doing that. And so, you know, another Cassiopeia, things like that are very likely. There's the R that we saw before. They played Cassio into it last time, maybe again.
And we'll see what the last pickup is going to be for Voidboy in the mid lane here. So if they pick the Cassiopeia, then it could just be a rehash what we saw last time. And Voidboy, for the majority of the lane phase,
was fine.
Doing fine. He was very aggressive early on. He did fall behind in CS a little bit later after they lost the bottom lane tower, actually. So when the rotations across the map actually wound up coming in and more focused on the mid to top side of the map. This time around, it's going to be the Vladimir pickup. So something also scales later on, a little bit safer.
And I do have to correct myself. I'm pretty sure it was Delta Fox who blinded the Cassiopeia and Ahri was the counter pick, because no, because Shen was the last pick. So they did pick Cassio and Ahri because Shen was the very last pick and it swapped with the Kennen. So they did choose to play Cassio into Ahri. Cassio is available in the draft, so they said, let's play something else instead. Instead of the Cassio, we'll play with this Vladimir. And to be fair, the comp has more CC in it. You've added an Ashe instead of a Lucian. You've added a Kennen instead of a Jace. And so if you're maximizing damage output, Vlad can sometimes be that to just amp everything instead of Cassio, who's there partial for the crowd control as well. So it might just be a team comp thing. Either way, he's deciding now to play Vladimir into Ahri. We'll see how well it could go.
Well, this time around, Delta Fox has a bit of a different look to their roster. It was Big Gods Jackals. Not necessarily the same power across the map with the Shen Stan United, but there's an Elise to provide a lot of CC from the jungle. There's a big bad Renekton in the top lane that's going to be looking to get some bully advantages over the split push Kennen extremely early on.
It's always fun watching a dynamic matchup like this. Renekton into ranged is something that I am deathly afraid of on both sides because I'm a very bad top laner. I do expect that both Chris and Darius will have a very fun time with this one. It's just such a nice, like, knife edge dynamic lane because, of course, Kennen's going to poke you out. He's got 500 range on you. No surprises there. But because of the double dash from Renekton, because he can stun, because Elise can stun, at any given time, you can turn that fight around immediately, and you've got to have this like really tempered expectations as Darius. Like, wait, when am I allowed to poke, or when am I dead to an Elise and Tri-Brush with Renekton flash stun? And it's just, I literally can't play the game until I'm dead because of the chain stuns. And it's a very difficult thing to do. I certainly can't. I trust Darius can, but it makes it a very interesting matchup because it should be volatile and there should be a lot of kill pressure on both sides.
Well, we see both of them starting with the Dorian Shield, whereas Delta Fox changing up the game one, level 1 invade plan here, getting a little bit of deep vision, trying to spot out where Sir T on this Elise is going to be starting off as they get a ward over by the Raptor cam. Big Gods Jackals on the opposite side, though. Still lining up pretty much the line of scrimmage, so early game warding advantage to Delta Fox, so we'll see if they're actually able to identify where Sir T starts and if they're able to do anything in the early stages of the game. Because Scar's Gragas last game, although he had some questionable later game ultimates, his early game presence wasn't necessarily the biggest. It was really about him kind of being on the opposite side of the map of Sir T rather than trying to halt what he was doing early game.
Absolutely. We'll see if Chris can steal away. He's going to get jumped on, though. Yeah, there's too much damage and CC availability. If they somehow didn't protect him, if Dyrus weren't camping down here, I think he could have gone for like a Q steal on some of these Raptors, but this is actually going to hurt Chris a lot. Dyrus gets about 600 damage off onto him. Okay, 600 is an overstatement. He got 300 damage off onto him, but he makes him use his first potion already, and he's still going to be at full HP afterwards. So the lane was going to be kind of exciting. Now I think it's going to be very likely to be Dyrus favored, and I think he can zone Chris off a lot.
No, we'll see if Sir T, who did start down at this Raptor camp, is going to be prioritizing that top side of the map, or if he may be looping around and trying to get something down on the bottom side. I'm actually going to be interested in this bottom lane matchup. We already saw in game number 1, Illusion Talia almost picked up a kill that just barely got turned around by the stun coming out from Kennen, as well as a very nicely timed heal from Fabi. This time around, it's a little bit more of an aggressive lane matchup.
The flash play!
Ooh, early level 2 engagement there from the side of Big God Jackals. Actually turned some decent damage down onto Fabi as well, so Summoner spells burned, flash for flash.
Yeah, and they're just going to recall really early. Fabi actually is going to clear 2 waves and back. And this is nice because they have the wave control. They're against no attack damage items at all, and the next wave is a cannon wave. There's basically no way DFX can actually deny significant farm here, so Fabi gets to back for free, grab early boots to get away from like Ash Chase down, things like that, be full HP and full mana, and he won't miss more than, I mean, maybe you lose up to 3 CS if it goes really badly for you, but he's going to have a potion lead as a result, and it should be pretty good. And there's the flash stun they're going for.
Yeah, and there's the chain CC coming out from Sir T. Dyrus able to flash away,
And
but
what are you allowed to
Chris
do?
it up.
You are not allowed to play League of Legends if you have range of a flash stun, and he dies from full HP to dead. The earlier the better, not as much HP leveling up right there. Very nice pathing Sir T to get level 3, rush right to the top side.
You know, also Dyrus, we saw him landing the lane kind of push back on him there, so he may not be ganked if he was pushed under tower. Because he was also at a level disadvantage, 2 compared to 3, and Chris able to capitalize on that nicely, and they get his teleport back to lane immediately.
Sure, he gets only a longsword for his first recall. Top laners usually get to spend 1 TP back to lane and then have to save it the rest of the time. And now, Chris will still have to match TP the rest himself as well, so watch that fight again. And again, it's just the stun was timed properly, that they had enough time. Really smart by Chris to tank aggro until the Kenna was dead. No longer is Elise dealing damage, so no longer will the turret swap aggro to that. Now Voidboy forced to kite away. That was a bit of an aggressive cocoon off to the wrong side, but
a little
out he
early.
goes.
Yeah, so Sir T got a good gank on the top side. Not so much on the middle lane here, as he did want to burn the Ghost away from Voidboy, so he did burn a Summoner spell for his troubles, although could have potentially gotten more. But Voidboy able to cheat death on that one.
Interesting mechanic right there by Thresh, by the way. If you wait too long to auto-attack, you charge up more damage via your passive, the way that the Flay passive works. So Bion wants to attack as soon as possible to make sure he doesn't like steal a last hit away from his teammate. And you don't want a last hit to caster if you can help it because it's less gold to you. So there's even mechanics of setting up CS properly as Thresh in bot lane. That said, Kalista can just like auto and then rend and get it anyway. It's not like he really has to help, but good guy Biano chose to.
I mean, you also get the kind of synergy between the fact that whoever Kalista binds to is going to be getting extra damage if you hit the same exact target. Maybe not necessarily for CS, but it comes into later effect later on when you want to maximize damage and trade.
Sure. And yeah, and it can't help for CS when you're not hitting casters under a turret, but absolutely I agree. Like sometimes that can really come into effect here, and mostly it's been Fabi using the instant cast rend to make sure things happen. And you can see, yeah, that's the kind of trade that Chris can do. And then if Dyrus gets a stun, he does 300 damage back.
Yeah, so like you said, a bit of a nice edge fight up here. And even though Dyrus did get ganked for first blood, he's still going to have that range advantage over the Renekton in this matchup, and he did wind up getting his first teleport off, whereas Chris was able to just walk back to lane. So this is going to be naturally pushing back against Chris, which will, of course, leave Dyrus a little exposed if he doesn't ward up properly.
Right, and so now you have an interesting choice if you're Chris right here. Do you, like, wait to finish your next major, like, you just, do you recall in like a minute's time and like match TPs back and, you know, accept the fact you have a slight TP disparity for 2 minutes in there, but it gives you an item lead in your laning phase, which maybe he really wants to not lose his turret? Or do you say, well, I'm just going to sit here in laning phase, not run my TP for anything, and just kind of suffer through a deficit? And I think there's actually a choice to be made. You still have, I think, a window to burn your teleport for a recall. Ooh, look at
You see the Spirit Rush directly into the Scar body slam. That's because Pika wants to turn this one around. The Hemo plays out from Voidboy, though. Voidboy doesn't go for the flash.
It's not up, actually. Of course, the Fury bar is going to match exactly with your Q cooldown. It's always going to fill exactly the next one that comes up.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Has flash.
Wants to try to wrap around on this one. The Charm's going to be available. He's not enough mana, though. Voidboy going to pull after. Tides of Blood. A flash after the transfusion will not pick up the kill.
And I'm not sure if Pico actually had to flash to stay alive. It was close, though. I don't blame him for trying to do that one. But yeah, Voidboy, the Q passive timed out essentially, right? He no longer had the ability to do the bonus damage. And here comes the next gank attempt. Sir T, not going to predict properly. No, good juke by Dyrus.
A little bit wide there. Dyrus keeps himself safe. And so now more advantages in this early game given over to the sides of Big God Jackals. Sir T First blood on the top side, moves down the bottom lane, not able to get something there, immediately pass back to mid lane because he's able to get those mobility boots off the first blood and matches the gank coming out from Skara in the mid lane.
Yeah, honestly, the fact that so the match gank was obviously very good, and he props to him for kind of sticking around and everything else as the Gragas came back. But the fact that Voyboy even died was him being too greedy and going back in for a fight that he's like, okay, my Q's got 4 seconds left on the cooldown. I'm gonna walk under a turret. Oh, I didn't kill him, weird. And you know, that is a mistake to be had for sure, and that's kind of unfortunate. As we saw from the previous game, of course, the comeback can still happen. They've usually been good for the first 20 minutes, and they'll find another play to be made. Especially for the fact that Dyrus is certainly winning his lane. And yeah, so there we go. Chris chose to wait until he could get Ninja Tabby and a longsword before he TP'd back to lane. But now there will be, in about a minute's time, this 3.5-minute, 4-minute long TP desync. But Chris decided, yes, I'm going to use my one allowed TP to lane to do this here, get my Ninja Tabby, survive Dyrus a bit more. And I think that is a defensible choice. There was a chance to get punished, and we'll see if Dyrus can, again, in a minute's time, find a TP play bot lane.
Yeah, and a lot of this is going to be the fact that Surtees made some things happen in the early game, and that puts the onus on Delta Fox to kind of make that TP play happen first. So if you, for 2.5 to 3 minutes, have a TP disadvantage, but you're against a team who's not able to utilize that and capitalize on that efficiently, it could work out for you. If now Big God's Jackals, TP or not, are going to be on a 3-man roam squad going after Voyboy. Saw the flash in from Bayano. Voyboy actually, he's barely going to stay alive, but Pika will has to Spirit Rush under the tower in order to pick up the kill, and Skara a little bit too late there. 5 seconds too late, and I will save Voyboy.
That was unbelievably sexy. The Flash Flay pulls him into Cocoon. That was awesome. That was so good out of Bayano and Surtee. I don't think Cocoon would have landed if not for Flay. I'm pretty sure. When the replay comes up, I'll be able to point it out for sure. But that was unbelievably sick. And there's basically no way as Voyboy you really get to outplay that. You've got to just guess exactly when Flash Flay comes out and pool the hope that he Flash Flays within that window. And that's really, really hard to predict. And I can't blame Voy for dying there. But I got to give all the props to the Brazilian duo there on Big God's Jackals for making that happen.
We can take a quick replay of this one to see. They roamed up from the bottom lane here, and we'll see if Bayano's Flash Flay knocks him into the Cocoon.
Yeah, he might have hit it, but the thing is, the Cocoon also was 100% going to be Sanguine poolable. So that does not land unless you go for a Flash Flay. Range or not, it's not going to land. The fact that also right there, Pikachu lands a single auto attack, also a huge deal. He wouldn't have done enough damage. And just as a mid laner, it is so important that you remember to put auto attacks down. There are so many players who just forget the value of that 70 attack damage. Would not have gotten the kill. The sick play would have gone to waste if he hadn't remembered to right-click afterwards. And look at all the pressure Chris has gotten. He's supposed to lose his matchup. The farm actually tells that story that he's only just now up 1. But he got the turret because of sick ganks out of Surtee, turning the matchup around. We know Renekton can make it happen, but it's hard, as we saw before, but nicely done there to make it happen.
Yeah, so already big movements on the map from Big God's Jackals. I guess it's in their name. So they're the ones that are making the big plays early on in this game. We heard from Bayano at the beginning of this beginning of the broadcast saying that, you know, being able to communicate in Portuguese with Surtee is going to do wonders for their shot calling. And Bayano himself, when he was in Brazil, he played on challenger teams for some of the big names. He was basically a sub or a challenger player for the Red Candid challenger team. I think he did the same thing for Pain Gaming or one of the other big names in the Brazilian scene. He was known for his shot calling prowess, and now that he has somebody he can help communicate those plays with, seems to be working out for Big God's Jackals specifically in these early game plays.
Look at the player here. They're on wards, though, so it's going to land hook too.
Oh, well, they're hooking Shifter, so Delta Fox trying to respond with a play of their own. The Hemoplague and the Explosive Cast go up, but Bayano's already picked up a kill on Shifter. Voyboy tanging through the tower. He has to use the Penguin Pool. Skara's going to flash into the wall, not be able to get away from that one. Now here comes Peek and Woof. Dyrus has used that teleport. Is he able to pick up any more than just a kill onto Surtee? It looks like no. He gets flayed. He gets taken down. Bayano, 2-0-2 on Thresh.
You've TP ult for a 1-for-1. Nicely turned around there by Big God's Jackals. The idea was sound. I think it could have worked absolutely, but just not enough damage dealt. Props to Fabi for a really sweet flash. Gets away from one of the barreled hits of damage. And they just honestly cut it around the CC so well. And to break it down further, we'll need the replay, but it's just, this game is completely snowballing out of control. It's been good play after good play from Big God's Jackals. The only reason it's not a perfect game right now for Delta Fox is that Dyrus traded 1-for-1 to teleport in.
And that play looked a little bit desperate for Delta Fox. Like, we need to get something going on some side of the map. We have a push going on the bottom side. Let's try to dive this tower. But Big God's Jackal is just right place, right time, able to kind of transfer that play around. And now we see Chris being able to just take down that tier 2 top tower because of all the time spent away from top lane.
He made the call to stay in top, and this whole time Chris is getting a push lead on this. So he looks to fight, but the problem is that Surtee's already there, so props to him to know it's coming in for this one. But it's supposed to be a bit of a 5v4. Immediately the first kill on Shifter, though, is a huge deal on that one. And there's under turret, there's just no damage left because Shifter's not there to land any spells. He maybe got the Ignite down, but it doesn't matter, right? And they're just disjointed. The minion was mostly gone already, so if you're doing anything at all, you're taking turret aggro. Void got his ult off, but there's no one hitting them while it's happening, so just it was completely disjointed, as you mentioned. Yeah, they're trying to force something because they are losing the map, and I respect the idea of trying to make something go down, but, you know, Mark V did not coach them how to properly tower dive, so, you know, player of the game first game.
Ooh, Peekaboo has to flash away from that one. That was a Mark Z guided arrow.
Yeah. I mean, that was a good shot, though, so good job, Mark. You know, teaching Cutie Pie how to play Ashe, that's good for you. You know, proper coaching, proper analyzing. But yeah, brother Mark right now certainly helped Big Gods win game 1. He's helping him win game 2 as well.
I thought he was head analyst at Delta Fox, but I could be a little bit confused with that one. The Big Gods Jackals, very, very strong early game pressure coming out this time around. Delta Fox, we mentioned, usually the ones that were winning the early stages of this game, but Big Gods Jackals able to turn it around basically because of that Thresh man there and the Elise coming out from Biano and Sir T. It's already playing a flash hook connects, the teleports in there from Chris, and Cutie Pie is taken down.
He gets obliterated there. More great plays out of support by Biano, making some highlight reels right there. Of course, it's easy. Ashe doesn't have a lot of items and no summoners up as well, but still a nice play right there. Now bot lane turret falls, and again, outside of a single kill, Big Gods Jackals on the way to a perfect game. Scar is not long for the world either, stunned with some teammates around, and Chris is like, yeah, I'll 1v3, you don't have mana, it's fine.
Yeah, they're being kind of corralled by Chris and Peekaboo. Peekaboo's a little bit on the backside here, but Chris continuing to chase down, pops the Dominus, still has that available. The Tiamat's going to be there, able to pick up a kill, double kill, now picks up this 1v3, turns into a 2v4, as now Dyrus comes in. Finally, because he gets CC'd, he goes down. The Challenger Gatekeeper. Flashing his skills here.
1 versus 3, and here comes more. Don't need to flash this time. Play into hook, into Cutie Pie can't do anything. 1v3, where's the team? Cutie Pie calls in his chat, and Fear the Goddess might be coming soon into his inventory. This one, 10-2 in kills. Big Gods Jackals smashing.
And I don't really know what else to say between Big Gods Jackals is playing this early game extremely, extremely well. A lot of it's going to be off the back of this Elise play, but also the teleport advantage. Look at the ward just over the wall immediately.
That's very smart.
Alpha channel.
And he tried to heal to juke. That's actually pretty smart by Cutie Pie, but really well aimed, aiming it forward and left. Cutie Pie has to juke back towards Thresh to have any way of juking. Honestly, that's like, to talk about like advanced skill shot usage, you actually want to, if they juke, they die is the best way to aim a skill shot. If they don't juke, they die to hook. If they do juke, they're just in range of flay. Best possible he could have gone for, lands the kill even despite the heal coming through. And then Chris actually just 1v2s and does 1,000,000 damage. It's pretty sick.
And this is just very, very strong Renekton at this point in the game. Dyrus is finally able to kind of rotate down for this one, but also that play, the desynced teleport timer is coming into a factor once again, is now Weaver's Wall going to be cutting off. Deacon really good explosive cast into the body slam. Good display of mechanics right there as much needed kills picked up for Delta Fox.
That was definitely nice. Peek and Wolf's ult was just barely still on cooldown. It seemed there was a couple second window, and Shifter with a really nice Weaver's Wall, just setting it up is good. So signs of life. Delta Fox finally claw in their 3rd kill, but it's a 7,000 gold deficit in 15 minutes. This is brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a stats guy by trade, and even I know that's a huge lead for the side of Big Gods Jackals. Now Chris continuing to just flex his muscles all across the rift on the bottom side.
Yeah, a lot of the way I look at gold leads is I'm like, okay, so for a general player League of Legends, you're getting like 400 to 500 gold per minute. That's like about right. I'm sure you actually know the real numbers better than I do, but that feels about
less,
appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay, 300 to 400 gold per minute.
Yeah.
Right. If you're doing really well, it's 500. If you're literally frogging, it's 500. Okay. And so, and I look at the gold lead, it's like, wow, they're up by 500 gold per minute. So they have a 6th player worth of gold.
Yeah, pretty much.
They have a 4th lane of farms. Right. They have a Froggen worth of gold on their team. They just got a Froggen. Awkward when you're against Delta Fox in the first place. We saw how the script went. So yeah, it's the way it went, and now they're going for a player on the Rift Herald. Scara, look at this might fight.
Yeah, this could actually be a fight that Delta Fox wants, even though the Rift Herald's able to go over to the side of Big Gods. Looks like the collapse coming in from Delta Fox. A good arrow on the backside, picks up a stun on the Fabby as they get another kill here for Delta Fox. And Big Gods Jackals, they have a big lead, but they still got to be a little bit careful about it. Looks like Blade of the Rune King is activated on the Sir T, but Shifter has to flash away from the double CC skill shots coming out. Delta Fox find a decent fight for themselves.
Yeah, all right, so that was interesting. That was very, very good by them to capitalize back on. Of course, I lost track of what was what the setup was because I was talking about gold leads and Froggen and things like that. It's been on my mind, I guess, recently or something. I don't know. But hey, DFX, I mean, very good by them to get into the fight, to show up in time, land all the CC, land all the ultimates, and then they even get a turret off of it as well. At some point, I assume the Rift Herald buff will... Oh, no, it was picked up by Sir T. I missed that, actually. I thought he had actually left it on the ground.
Right, we got a replay for you to figure out what happened.
Yeah, so it's walking in, and the team is still focused on taking down Rift Herald, so the entire time you just got him sitting there, Bayano, like front-lining, taking damage from Rift Herald, taking damage from Gragas. That stun is amazing as well. I mean, that's just a really, really nice shot. Fabi, I think, actually might have had flash up at the time. He has it now at the very least, so either it was on a small cooldown or he just didn't see it coming, or he thought it was going to hit Ari, who, you know, peek and woof as he spirit rushes out of the way. But either way, nice shot by QT5, right? Proper coaching from Mark Zimmerman, and they got a good fight out of it.
One of the things, too, is Chris was nowhere near that fight, and his teleport was desync from that of Dyra, so he wasn't able to join up. He was kind of trailing along the backside of that fight. So while he was split pushing down that bottom side of the map, and even though Big God's Jackals have 5 towers, he was not there to really help out his team, and he's one of the big factors of this game is the fact that he is so much farther ahead of his counterpart in Kennen.
You mentioned the desync teleports. It's actually a really good point. I actually missed that, so thank you for bringing that one out. League of Legends is really fun to watch when top laners have desync teleports, because you have constant 5v4s on all sides of the map, or 1v1s where QT5 dies to an Elise.
Oh, potentially 1v1s. It's not fair, though. He's got the rest of the fan club coming in.
All right, well, the rest of the fan comes in. They've got like 10 tails and 13 legs across all of them, and either way, it's a pretty easy win against Ash, who's only human. So good pick up there. And yeah, this is what happens. You don't have the ward control anymore. When the map starts collapsing, it's so hard to keep wards available, and even though they had some wards in the jungle, it just didn't matter. He wasn't able to get away in time.
Yeah, so now Big God's Jackals able to answer with a kill on the QT5. We'll see if they wind up utilizing that Rift Herald topside, and they will. So this is actually going to be very scary Rift Herald, because it will open up an inhibitor at this point in the game. We're pre-20 minutes. An inhibitor being exposed is very dangerous. No one from DFX is here to respond, so Weaver's Wall will cut off Peek and Whoop and Fabi. He's got the Lantern to go over, though. They're going to try to lock onto Peek and Whoop, the explosive cast. He flashes over the wall. They find Boy trying to flank around the backside. He gets knocked up. He gets splayed back, and Fabi's able to pick up a kill. Good charm lands down on the Sora. Follow-up with a hook. This chain CC is devastating from Big God.
Chain CC is exactly what Thresh is about. The Chain Warden himself making it. Yeah, and there's the 360 as Tom throws up his hands. I'm done with this one. I can't handle this guy. It's too annoying. There's the charm. Much like me, a charming kill comes through for Beacon Wolf.
You definitely have a way with words, Freak, so I'll give you that one. But the Big God Jackals has a way with this game right now.
Oh,
taking down an inhibitor in the top lanes. Chris, meanwhile, is split pushing on the bottom side.
What's better, my puns or Big God's Jackals in this game?
I think, I don't know.
There's an easy answer here. Big God's Jackals.
Oh, Big God's Jackals is definitely super far ahead, but I was complimenting you at the beginning of the broadcast. I'll have to double, you know, kind of
I think I only deserve like one per day. Like it's on cooldown for a while.
It just goes straight to your head. You get a big head. Big God Jackals gets a big lead in this game.
Every compliment I get puts one hair back in my scalp. You can tell I don't get a lot of them. That's how it works.
This is a fight that looked like it was going to be set up by DFX, even though they lost the inhibitor tower pretty much for free. They're trying to get the collapse from Boy on the backside, but just Big God's Jackals, too much CC, too much gold, too much damage.
And I mean, okay, the Kennen Renekton are dealing with the bot lane right now, and sure, Chris has a gold lead, but at the same time, 60% of the kills were on the Kennen. I think you need him in the battle. They would rather have the Renekton be split pushing.
I like the slowdown on the miss of the Thresh hook coming out.
That's okay. He got the rest of him landing. It's like an 80% skill shot accuracy. It's good enough for me.
Yeah, well, he's hit pretty much a decent amount of hooks. I think he's hit a couple more hooks and arrows than QT5's fired out this game. Although QT5 on Ashe has not really been in a position to make those things happen. That's what we talked about in Champion Select. If you are a team like DFX and you're put onto that AD carry Ashe, somebody who needs to kind of make these initiations and these fights kind of happen for your team, and that's been your weak point. Big God's Jackals coming out ahead in the pick and ban phase for that one. Not only that, but Fabi was able to get advantages in that lane phase extremely early on Callisto.
Yeah, I mean, really good stuff out of him. Again, the level 2 recall was interesting. It's very rare you see that. Again, I don't think it was punished very heavily, but really the game snowballed completely elsewhere. It was Chris at the very beginning, a failed tower dive for them as well, and then here comes the inherent CC. They caught him in.
You know, they got Peek and Whoop, but he just dashes out, and even though Dyer's able to pick up a kill on Fabi, Big God Jackal's still looking for this fight. Chris is going to slice and dice his way out of there. Peek and Whoop tagged up by that Hemo play, going to be taken down kind of low, so DFX able to defend a mid-tier 2 tower, but they still got super minions wailing away on a top Nexus tower.
Oh, it's done!
Oh.
And it's back to a 500 gold per minute lead right now for Big God's Jackals. Froggen has rejoined the lineup for his farming prowess right here. Oh, it's a difficult game to be in right now. And this is honestly practically out of reach. They're down a Nexus turret. It's 21 minutes into the game. Big God's Jackals have a Cloud Drake. You can't lose when that happens.
And a Mountain Drake.
All right, Cat Planet getting summoned soon for this one. They've even got Heart. They've got Ari. I mean, what more do you need?
Well, you need water, you need fire,
Yeah.
Need wind. They have
They
wind.
have. All right.
They need to get Captain Planet.
All right. Well, they've got
I mean, you asked, and I gave a literal
on
answer.
Ari, and they just need the other one that I forgot the name of.
Well, they have Earth, they have Cloud, they have
Yeah.
Heart,
Yeah. So
Water.
that's great. They don't have water anywhere. Unlucky. Captain Planet not going to be seen unless they hang out in the river for a long
They
time.
needed Pool Party Renekton.
If only he had done it.
Only they
Sad
knew the
life.
dragons ahead of time.
Yeah, there he is. It's SKT Renekton instead. Yeah, sorry, not the power of water. Chris roaring. You hear the crowd behind them. That's the dream. Goes for the stun.
See,
And
this-
Shifter flash.
This is why I compliment you on the desk, because Mark Z doesn't even know what skins are in our game. You are just all on top of this.
Yeah, I've actually already played a bunch of games with like the Duskbringer or Nightbringer Yasuo. Looks cool, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You
I
a favorite
haven't played it
Yasuo
myself,
player?
but they've been in the game.
Oh, okay. You haven't actually played it. All right.
No, I played my first Riven game of like the last 2 years, and it was terrible. I started 1-9, but then I finished a Death Dance and went 10-9.
Nice.
So, well, okay, I went 5-9, but still, it was. I went from 1-9 to 5-9 and 10. It was an upgrade from there. I had a killing spree at the end of it all. Oh gosh, yeah.
You're going to get annihilated by Peek and Move.
So Shifter right there is what I look like playing Riven.
Oh, okay.
That was about as close to the games were. By the way,
Dead.
Baron's being killed after Big Guts Jackals.
Yeah, Big Gotch just pretty much have priority all across the map here. The vision control on the bottom side is able to spot anybody trying to be a little bit too far away. Picking up a kill on Shifter, just secures himself at Baron. Not because
mean
it's priority.
Peeking up a kill on Shifter.
Yes, peeking up a killer. I missed the
missed
pun.
this.
I'm barking up the wrong tree.
I mean, she's more of a fox, but are foxes in the dog family?
I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
they're in the fox family.
Are foxes like their own? Okay, you know what? We're not going to go for this one.
Kind of like bears.
I'm
What kind
trying
of
to-
animal's a bear?
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
bear.
You're right. I feel you. My bad. My bad. I'm the worst kind of person out here. 10,000 gold lead. Big Gods Jackals. All that's left is to close the game out at this point. Double inhibitor down. One turret remains in front of the Nexus. And with Baron buff, it should be the closeout. Almost guaranteed.
Double inhibitors down. One of them will be respawning soon on the top side of the map for Delta Fox, but with, you mentioned all the map pressure that Big God Jackals has, it's going to be A-okay for them to just rotate up there. And Sir T already getting the mini wave pushing up there as well. That means the Elise can potentially flank around and kind of land that chain CC, really start the chain CC off. The inhibitor has respawned. There's a ton of minions up on that top side of the map. Dyrus has to deal with the super minions on the bottom side as Chris is just going to bring himself over there. A flash, a stun. The Biano being thrown is not going to land, and actually an arrow lands there from Mama Cutie Pie. They're going to maybe chase on the peek and move here. Void Boy's in the
Really
front
hard.
line. Can't grab the lantern from the enemy team, though. Delta Fox unable to capitalize there.
Boy tried really, really hard. He protobolted to get into range for the ulti, but no one else could even auto-attack the Ahri, so I know they really wanted it. They were hoping it was an opportunity, but just the range was just simply too far away. Not all left could be done. So now it's time for the repeat push. Bot lane inhibitor. Going to be taken down a second time.
Yeah, so Big God's Jackals, kind of just a textbook way to end this game. It's a lot faster than last game here, 24 minutes in. Delta Fox hard pressed up against their base, a 10,000 gold disadvantage, and another inhibitor falling. Dyrus trying to clear away on the top side of the map, so that one doesn't fall. Well, there's still about a minute and a half left on this Baron buff they have to endure, so Big God's Jackals can play this one as slow as they want.
Yeah, well, up until Baron buff ends, because you're supposed to close the game before that would happen, but it's very likely they do win the game in the next minute and a half right here. Mid inhibitor cracked for the first time all game, and they're going to still wait to grab this inhibitor. They're playing with a lot of respect, and it's almost more than they need. It shouldn't be too hard to siege when they've got the Baron buff in. I guess they're waiting for the bot lane maybe to push in a little bit first.
And there's no big ultimates available for Delta Fox. They have the Slicing Maelstrom and the Explosive Cast, but there's no Hemoplague available. There's no Ash Arrow. That actually just came back up, as we're going to see it fired out here onto Biano. A good power slam in from Scar. He knocks Chris into the backline, though. The Slicing Maelstrom comes out from Kennen. Delta Fox has the damage, but can they finish off their targets? It looks like the answer is going to be no. Dyrus goes down. Boy follows after him. The inhibitor's going to fall, and that's going to be Big God's Jackals. 3 inhibitors strong, pushing down into the base.
Yeah, 2 for 1 in solo laners. There was a nice ult out of Dyrus and a nice cask out of Skara as well, but the stats are simply too much. There's really no way you can just continually survive all of the damage. They're knocking down 3 inhibs, and they're actually going to wait to reset one more time. It's 4v3 with minions inside the base and a Baron buff still on. I feel like you probably try to close it out, but instead they're going for the slightly slower play here. Watch that fight again. It's a big stun out of Chris. That's a lot of damage there on a Scar. The arrow lands onto one of the tanks, throws the Thresh, and that cask is good, but delivering the Renekton, not exactly ideal. That's what you really, really want. And honestly, Boy doesn't have the damage to kill off the Ahri there. Even though he got in the full Singlet pool, he had the ulti on, did everything he could. There's just not enough damage to be had there, even though Ahri didn't build any MR in the slightest. He's just under-leveled and under-farmed.
Now Delta Fox Their hardest opponent in this game may not be Big God's Jackals, but the fact that there are 3 waves of super minions coming down, so 6 super minions per wave, and as you mentioned, significantly underfarmed. I'm a cutie pie gonna
Hope for a blue steal, I think.
fire out an arrow as we see Big God's Jackals even respond to some question mark pings of their own as to where that one was going. But now without a hard engaged utility coming out from Delta Fox, it was not helping him in the last fight. It's going to be even more detrimental in this following one. Already Boy in the front line getting stunned up, getting taken down. Scar goes in with the desperation play, able to pick up a kill on the third team, but Chris is ripping through their back line already. Big Bad Renekton is going to combine with the Ahri to pick up a couple of kills. Fabi gets one on the front lines, and Scar is the last man standing. Looks like the Delta Fox are going to be forced out of their own base, taken down by Big God's Jackals. They're going to take a 2-0 here over their opponents.
27-minute game 2. Well played to Big God's Jackals. The game 2 absolutely convincing. Smashed from start to finish. Some good team fights to boot as well. GG 2-0 still. Sadly for Delta Fox, no game wins at all. And this is one of their easier opponents, the 4th place team. Not going to happen. Maybe it gets better in the second round robin, but you know, it's a lot of work to do here as well. They, you know, bad in the laning phase in some of these cases, and certainly getting outplayed here by Big God's Jackals. Again, a strong team doing well. I liked a lot of the plays out of these guys. I thought Biano and Surtees certainly combined really, really, really well. The top lane gank was amazing. Also, the setup was so good, too, because that felt like a sort of a planned play. Raptors to red to blue, come top lane. Chris says, okay, I'll shove the wave. We'll kill him before he's level 3, kill him under turret, make him lose part of the wave. Like, that was a good setup by them. Certainly some really good plays coming out of Big God's Jackals.
Yeah, we mentioned in the pregame that Delta Fox, their strength was going to be like their mechanical prowess in lane. And even though game number 1 was fairly close, game number 2 was pretty much just the Brazilian duo of Surti and Biano kind of flexing their own mechanical muscles. Pretty much every chance you got. You saw Biano weaving in hooks in places that you wouldn't think would be able to hit. You saw the chain CC follow up. Even Pika Wolf getting into the fray with some very clutch Ahri charms.
Yeah.
Just very highly mechanically executed pick composition coming out from them, being able to just piece and pick apart the pieces of Delta Fox they needed to.
Absolutely agree that they played it very well. And even though we did have some elements of desync teleports, Delta Fox were unable to capitalize. We talked about it. Was Chris going to use his TP to get back to lane to buy Ninja Tabi and a longsword? And he did. Is it okay? We've got this 4-minute window where Dyrus can go for the play himself, and he can go for the desync TP, go for the 5v4 bot lane. They tried. They lost the turret top lane as a result. They lost out on kills by 1 or 2 in the bot lane as a result, despite being the higher number team. And it was the right call to try, but Delta Fox were not able to make the play actually happen. And that, I thought, even outside of Dyrus losing lane, which like you can recover from that, but when the bot lane tower dive, when you use your one advantage in the game and it turns into nothing, it's almost impossible to come back from there, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and that was Big God Jackals putting the onus on Delta Fox to kind of make those plays happen.
And they defended well. Surti camped down in the lane, like the Elise was already there waiting for the play to happen. You saw Peek and Wolf roam down in time, cut people off. Like, defending that play can be very hard to do, and you give a solo queue team that option, they're going to lose it 100% of the time. But Big God's Jackals did defend it well. You can give credit to both sides. Mistakes by Delta Fox definitely did happen. Proper response by Big Gods also definitely did happen. And the way it came together was like a 2-for-1 and a turret.
And it's also just a very convincing way to bounce back. Big God's Jackals was very close to Delta Fox in game 1 for like the first 20 to 25 minutes of that game before that dragon play wound up happening where they kind of came out ahead, or that's where they turned the game around and came out ahead. But this time around, it's very good to see Big God's Jackals, who were the 4th place team coming into the Challenger Series playoffs last split, cement the fact that, like, hey, Delta Fox, they haven't won a game yet. We had a very convincing victory over them in game number 2, and just kind of being able to showcase the fact that they do have this communication in their team. They do have the ability to close these games out rather quickly when they have the advantages, and just showcasing really good stuff from a team that made the playoffs last time and is looking to push into the promotion tournament.
Right, and again, now that they're at 2-2, they sit 1 match ahead of CLG Academy. They are likely to remain in that running right there, and it's just counting down the days until they have to play against United or Temper Storm, right? They already lost their first match to Gold Queen United. Of course, they can win the comeback later on. It's a double round robin, so they get a second chance at it to maybe get a slightly easier first round opponent. But it's just get in shape, stay in playoff running, and then get that upset in the first round. And that's the goal. And if they're still playing well, look, one of the tower dives look very good from these guys. They certainly have some good players. As long as they can keep growing, we can see them get far in the postseason.
That's very true. And now for more on that series, and from Delta Fox's Challenger Series adventure, we're going to turn this one around a little bit. I'd like to welcome Boy to the broadcast via Skype. Boy, thanks for coming.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys? I was just chilling. How's it going?
Not too shabby, but glad to see that you are a little more relaxed after that one. I want to first say thank you very much for coming on the broadcast. It was a little bit of a harsh game number 2. So how was it just kind of competing on the Rift with the Challenger team in that series against Big God's Jackals?
I mean, our teams really cool. Like obviously we're super chill. We're all really good friends. So every game we play, like we enjoy it a lot. But I'm not gonna lie, like it's really frustrating, like getting some advantages in some of these games and then just kind of throwing or like eventually getting smashed because we really want to win. Like we're all super motivated to do well for the fans, and like there's so much riding on our backs, and we hate letting everyone down. So these losses definitely hurt. Like every loss we've had, definitely like believe me, I just like we just pull up our match history. It's just a bunch of losses, and like I look back at those games, I'm like, wait, we could have won like half those. And honestly, it's a lot of growing pains just because we're a new team. We're all young go-getters and we want to do well, but we just don't have like as much practice as a lot of these other teams. Like we're not scrimming every day like them, so we're trying to make the best with what we have, and I think we've been doing a good job. I'm not gonna lie, I think we definitely like played a lot worse in that series than we have been in some of these other series because I think we could have definitely taken a game or two off Jackals, but we'll get them next time. We'll make everyone proud. Like if it's not next series, it's the one after. I can promise you guys that.
All right, you're promising it's not a 0-20 run. You're promising you're getting some of these
hell no,
players.
dude. We're gonna make playoffs. We're gonna make playoffs and we're gonna win.
Right.
Oh wait, let's not get that far.
Okay, all right, but not 0-20. You're gonna win some games. So I'm actually curious. You said you're not scrimming every day, which I understand. But how much practice are you putting in, like as a team unit, outside of like everyone playing solo queue?
So we've been duo queuing a lot together. Like me and Scar have been playing. Dire Scara, our bot lane, Chapanya, and Cutie have been playing a lot. Like we've all been trying to build like those little synergies that will carry over into our games because we don't like our schedules are so different. So it's kind of hard to just like schedule like a full block of scrims, and just like 5-man versus like all the other LCS teams. But we're trying to get like those little synergies together going between our players so that when we're in the match and it's like the hyphy moment, like, yo, Scar, you need to initiate, just go for it, like, or like just gank this right now. Like we'll have that built up and we'll probably be a little bit weaker on like our macro play and our overall game strategies, but we can definitely take games just because we're like all really mechanically solid players and we can, build the trust together so we can finally, just win one of those close fights and then just like take the game. Like we're so close, man. Like, just
I understand
you gotta believe me, man. These games are all winnable. But yeah,
I believe you, boy.
I guess that's.
Yeah, definitely had some pretty close games. I kind of want to take that focus as to how you're practicing in solo queue with the team and kind of transition into how you guys play on the Rift. What is like the biggest difference you've seen working on those little synergies and kind of playing in solo queue and then transitioning into the Challenger series where the competition's a little bit more about that coordination and macro play you mentioned we're kind of working on?
Yeah, I mean, solo queue is pretty worthless practice for competitive. Like it's good that we're all like playing our champions and stuff and trying to like, practice what we want to play. But in terms of like actually using what we're learning in solo queue for competitive, it's just different. That's why it's hard for us. Like the fans are like, oh shit, like Cutie, Danny, like all these guys like high rank in solo queue, like they're legends, like LCS geniuses, like they're just gonna come in and just like smash the challenger scene. It's like, all right, everyone, like calm down. We're gonna try our best. Like we're not gonna get to practice as much as these guys. They've been playing for months together. Like competitive is very different from just like your average games. And like that's another thing about like the roles and like our team, like the way we've set our team. Like people think, oh, because like this guy's really good at solo queue, like the team's like holding itself back by not putting like this person there or this person there. Like we're pretty comfortable with all the roles that we're playing, and we've talked about it a lot. Like this is the best combo that we have to improve as a team and get better, and we're all capable of playing at an NACS or even better level, in our individual positions. It's just a matter of getting that team synergy down so that, we can actually go in and just like pop off and take these games. So we're going to keep practicing, we're going to get better, and, hopefully these wins are going to start coming through, boys.
All right, well, you guys are still looking for that one win in the Challenger Series, and of course, you guys have kind of grouped together just for fun. It's pretty fun to watch your games so far, but for you personally, Voyboy, what is one thing that you or Delta Fox as a team are really looking to kind of take away from this North American Challenger Series experience?
Well, I mean, I think we've already been getting a lot of, cool stuff for us as players, as friends. We all like playing together. I think it would be a lot funner if we just start like winning some of these games, and it would be better for the fans, obviously, if we can start popping off and, making you guys proud. So hopefully that'll be like the end result. Like by the end of the season, we'll actually look like a competitive team. We'll look like we've been playing together for more than like a week. Like we've played more than like 5 games together. But yeah, I mean that obviously the more practice we get, yeah, exactly. Like we'll get there, boys. But I think I think we just want to like win. I mean, it would be really cool if we just suddenly started taking games and we could make playoffs and like make a run or something. we'll see. I mean, we're gonna try our best, and at the end of the day, we just want to make the fans proud, because like that's ultimately why we did this. Like, we're all, you know, successful streamers, we're all content creators, like we all love what we do, but it was just like, wait, we have a chance to like play together as a team, like try to take games and like, you know, have everyone watch that and have a good time. Like that's ultimately the goal here, and you know, hopefully we can win while doing that too. So wish us luck, boys. We're not gonna stop working hard. We're not gonna stop trying to win. So
Yeah.
All right.
You guys had some very hard-fought games there, and you still have some hard-fought games to go. So even though you weren't able to pick up the win today, I want to thank you once again for coming on and giving us a little interview.
hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
And with tonight's matches complete, we're going to see how the league stands overall. United still holds on to first place, followed by Tempo Storm close behind in second. And with their win tonight, Big Gods Jackals moves on up to tie Gold Coin United at third place. With a single match victory, though, CLG Academy holds position one slot above Delta Fox, who will be searching for their first win in week number 3. And unfortunately, Freak, we're all out of games for tonight.
Yep.
But if you need more League of Legends action in your life, we got you covered tomorrow, because it's week 3 of the North American LCS.
It is.
Starting at 3 p.m. Pacific or 6 p.m. Eastern Time, you can catch Immortals as they take on Team Liquid. Then you can see if Envy can continue their streak against Echo Fox in our second match of the evening, just in case you didn't get your fill of frogging tonight.
More League of Legends always going to be fun to deal with, and honestly, it's going to be some really good matches because a lot of those teams have actually improved a lot, and Envy and Immortals, for being really bottom of barrel teams last split, are sitting at 3-1 apiece and look like very good teams now.
Yeah, Immortals almost made a playoff run last time. Envy are looking like they might want to make a playoff run of their own. Some tempered expectations, because they made playoffs one split, they didn't another split. This could be the first time to kind of break the one and one trend.
Yeah, I think both these teams, I mean, they're both tied for first right now. These are definitely solid teams that can improve. Echo Fox sitting at 2-2, I think can also do some good things as well. And it's just so interesting to see how much the table had actually turned over in the NALCS so far.
Well, we got plenty of league action this entire weekend. That's going to be it for us tonight. So for myself, Freak, and the entire Challenger broadcast crew, even though we're down Mark Z, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. He's going to have a potion lead as a result, and it should be pretty good. There's the flash that they're going for.
Yeah, and there's the chain CC coming out from Sir T. Dyrus able to flash away,
And
but
what are you
Chris
allowed to do?
pick it up. Scar's going to flash into the wall, not be able to get away from that one. Now here comes Peek and Woof. Dyrus has used that teleport. Is he able to pick up any more than just a kill onto Sir T? It looks like no. He gets played. Chris continuing to chase down. Pop the Dominus. Still has that available. The Tiamat's going to be there. Able to pick up a kill. Double kill. Now picks up this 1v3. Turns into a 2v4. They find Boy trying to flank around the backside. He gets knocked up. He gets played back, and Fabi's able to pick up a kill. Good charm lands down onto Scar. A follow-up with a hook. A good belly slam in from Scar. He knocks Chris into the back line, though. The slicing maelstrom comes out from Kennen. Delta Fox has the damage, but can they finish off their targets? It looks like the answer is going to be no. Chris is ripping through their back line already. Big Bad Renekton is going to combine with the Ahri to pick up a couple of kills. Fabi gets one on the front lines, and Scar is the last man standing.
Yo, man, look at me, man. I got on the jewels. Look at my shoes, man. I'm sharp. Man, I look good, right, I look good, right, I look exactly the way you wish you could. I look good, right, I look good, right, come on. I'm in love with a girl that I call old school. Sipping on my brandy, I'm feeling brand new. Got the feather in my hat because I'm just that cool. You peeping at my alligators bent kinda slow. They peeping at me pimping cause I got all the game. And even if the day change, it's all the same. You rolling up the block, but you in the wrong lane. You hating on a brother, man, you must be insane. I look good. I look good, I look exactly the way you wish you could. I look good, I look good, come on. I look good, I look good, I look exactly the way you wish you could. I look good, I look good, come on. Joe said that I'm the best in the West. I got the girls saying, damn, look at how he dressed. No need to guess, just bless my finesse. I keep him in a mess, all up in this caress. Jeans, fitted, shirt, knitted. Man, she need to quit it, she already did it. She gotta be Latina cause she look mixed with it. She all up on me, so I guess she gonna get it. I look good, I look good, I look exactly the way you wish you could. I look good, I look good, come on. I look good, I look good, I look exactly the way you wish you could. I look good, I look good, come on. Right, yeah, right, come on. Right. Come on. Yeah. Right. Come on. I look good. Right.